in San Francisco is $1.4 million, which is just not attainable for most people.
It's not.
It's these crazy prices that have caused many San Francisco residents to leave the city for more space at less cost. Los Angeles has a similar problem. It's estimated that Los Angeles residents spend around an hour in traffic every day.
That's
That's not
crazy.
time spent commuting. It's just time stuck in traffic. On top of the hours spent in the car, the city itself is incredibly expensive. The average price for an apartment is $3,093 a month, and that isn't even to own the place you're living in. People renting in LA will never get a return on the money spent on rent, which
Nope.
is true everywhere else in the world. And things are just getting worse as rents increased by an average of $443 in 2022, which has priced many people out of the city they've called home for years. As mentioned at the beginning of this video, the state of New York suffered a net loss of over 75,000 families in 2022. Most of this population decline was in New York City and the surrounding areas. The reason for this has to do with people's ability to work remotely during the pandemic and the desire to be closer to family. That being said, there is one reason above all others that is forcing families to leave the Big Apple and move to more affordable parts of the country. New York City is the most expensive city in the country to live in. This is why more than 20,000 residents left the metropolis last year alone. Now, many companies are struggling to find experienced talent willing to come back to the office to work.
Mm.
However, even lucrative work
New York ain't
opportunities
gonna
make
see a
it
return of
impossible
people.
to move to the city
They're
full-time.
they're pricing out
The economy
everybody.
is unsustainable, resulting in over 100,000 apartments being left
Yeah,
empty.
of course
The
they're left
Department of
empty.
Homeless Services has 67,880 children and adults living in their facilities in 2022. Unfortunately, many people don't have the option of moving out of the city for various reasons. But if everyone was given the opportunity, it's very probable
Wow.
that New York City would lose a lot more than just 20,000 residents.
Yeah.
Metropolitan areas of Illinois, such as Chicago, are struggling to keep residents within their borders. Indiana saw a net decline of around 29,000 families in
Really?
2021, and data from 2022 suggests that this trend has continued. When a
They're
sample
leaving
of movers
Chicago
was
and
polled on the
Indiana.
major reasons why they were leaving the state, around 50% cited
Taxes.
taxes as the primary factor causing them to move. Even though the cost of living in Illinois isn't quite as high as California and New York, financial factors have been driving the exodus of people out
I
of the
could
city.
definitely see that.
Pennsylvania's population declined by more than
Vera, what's popping?
15,000 households, which can be
How are
directly
you this morning?
connected to job losses during the pandemic. The
26
interesting
people.
thing is that it
There we
doesn't
go.
appear Pennsylvanians
What's
are
going on,
flocking
y'all?
to New York
I'm
or
just sitting
other
here
major
chatting.
metropolitan hubs where jobs are more
Um,
plentiful due to the fact that these
I'm
regions have
probably gonna do some
experienced
recording today.
population decline.
Matter of fact, I
In
will.
most parts of the country where
Um,
states are losing residents, it
but I'm
appears
looking
that
at
people
this
from Pennsylvania are looking
like
towards some
people
key
are
states to their south
leaving the
to boost their
cities.
lives and careers. Massachusetts has the
That's
largest
crazy.
population of
You good?
any state in the union.
Hi.
In
All right.
fact, Boston and
Where am I
Boston are the
from?
two largest cities in New
I'm
England, with
from.
respective
Well,
populations of
I'm. Where in
650,000,
America? Where am I
700,
from?
and 205,322.
I am
However,
from
this
New
may
Jersey,
also be
but
a
I'm in
contributing
America.
factor as
Yeah.
why the state lost
You training?
15,889 households
Am
last
I
year.
training for
In
what?
total, this equates to around 57,000 residents moving
Uh,
out of Massachusetts in 2022 alone. What the data
am I
shows is that the most populous
training?
state
Am
in
I
the union
training
is losing more
for?
residents
Am
than
I
it's
fight
gaining.
training?
Again, when we conduct our
Or am
analysis, we'll
I?
examine why this is happening. But what's
I don't
important
know.
to know
That's
is
the only
that
training I
the
know is
local
like
New York's
fight training.
economy, which makes up over 8% of the United States' overall
You know,
GDP, and Massachusetts economy,
no
which
football
makes up
training for me.
almost 3% of the national GDP,
Yeah,
the
I got a
loss of
fat
such
stomach.
large numbers of workers could be detrimental to the
Yeah.
United States economy in the future.
I used to play
Washington
football.
State is interesting as the reason
You
for
coming to
people
Newark?
moving out of the state is clear.
What'd you say?
The
I'm coming to
13,000
Newark. Come
families that left
outside.
Washington last year
Thoughts on
didn't go
having
very
3
far.
wives?
Instead, the majority went to
I'll
the
take
neighboring
one.
states of Oregon and Idaho,
You want me to
where
be
the cost of
honest?
living is significantly lower. It's been
I didn't
determined
have 3
that
wives,
it
but I
is
had 2
7%
girlfriends at the same
cheaper to
time.
live in Oregon than in Washington, and Idaho
And
is one of the lowest
when I say
rated
at the
states to
same
live
time,
in the western part of the country.
at the same
Many
time.
Washington residents decided to move when
Yeah.
given the option of living in a cheaper state
I'm
with
married
more
to my
employment.
wife,
And now those same
and
people
I
are
don't want nobody else. I don't. And I've had that option. I don't want nobody else. So I don't believe in three wives. It's for me. I don't. I'm happy with the one I got. What's my favorite food? My favorite food. Oh man, I don't. I have favorite kinds of food. I love Indian food. I love Jamaican food. I love New Orleans cuisine. I love that so much. I married a woman from New Orleans. I love, of course, the classic New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, tri-state area food like pizza, calzones, stuff like that. That's basically Italian American food. I love Italian food. I like some German food. Um, um, I like Chinese food, but not like the Chinese food you go at to go to the store. That's not real Chinese food. That's like American. That's what Chinese think Americans like. When you go to actual China, their food's different. I like that food. That food's good. I like Japanese food, of course. I love Vietnamese food. Oh, um, I love African food. African food, boy, that stuff gets you fat. It's good. It's delicious, and it's healthy. You know. Um, Ooh, I love African food. Like Nigerian food, yes. I've had food from Yemen. Their food is good. Um, their food was really good. Um, but yeah, I have different kinds of foods, and I don't have like a specific kind of food. I like all kinds of food. Um, I like all foods, but I think certain cultures, I like foods from certain cultures. So you know, but yeah, so is it- there should only be one husband. What did you say? There should only be one wife and one husband. Yeah, 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 man. It's and dude, it's like I've been in um, I've been in a, I don't know if you call it a relationship or relationships because it's two girls. It was two girls. I've been in a situationship. That's what I'll call it. I've been in a situationship where it was just me and two girls. And while the natural thing is, oh wow, I got two girls, it really does complicate things. You know, it does. It complicates things. Because if you like the other girl, then the one girl that introduced you to the relationship, she gonna get kind of funny style. You know what I mean? But you know, and that's kind of what happened to me. So I don't, I don't know. Uh, yeah. My dream car. Um, you know what? To be honest, my wife's dream car is a BMW. I mean, I told her BMWs used to be good, not anymore. They're made of plastic. A lot of the parts on the engines are made of plastic, and when you have plastic that gets hot and then it cools down, it gets hot and it cools down, and it gets hot and it cools down. What you're doing is you're speeding up the dry rot process. And eventually, when something goes bad, you're under the hood, and like you got plastic pieces that you got to move it. And stuff is breaking. So when you're supposed to fix one thing, to get to the stuff that you have, you're breaking pieces because the stuff is like dry rotted. So, then now you got to replace all these plastic pieces along with it. You know what I mean? They're complicated. They weren't like that back in the day. BMWs lasted forever and they were really reliable. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, thank you. Audis are made of plastic. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, a lot of cars are made with plastic. Um, But
In fact,
yeah,
this
man, they're you know
cryptocurrency
they're
system
they're
that keeps
they're
track of
they're
every
decent
single transaction.
cars,
Then there
but
are
they're made of
Terra,
plastic. You know,
Custodia, and Gateway,
Mercedes. I'll
just to
say
name
this:
a few.
Mercedes.
Combined,
If I were to
each of
buy a
these
Mercedes, I wouldn't
systems
buy an
source the
American
inbound data.
Mercedes. I would go to Germany or like I don't know. The cars they send over here are different than the ones that are in Germany. It's the same thing with Hyundai's. The Hyundai's Maybach. I'd get a Maybach because ironically Maybachs were they're luxury and they're made of quality materials. But you're gonna pay for those materials. You're gonna and they're worth it. They're worth it. They last forever, man. A Maybach will be around for a while, you know. Um, but my thing is, why am I getting it? You got to remember, I'm a drummer. I'm not hauling drums around in the Maybach. That's not happening. You know what I mean? So my dream car, it would have to be as a date night car where me and my wife are just going on a date. It would be a Maybach. For my everyday run around,
There are pockets where the population is
well,
behind in these
it's a
cities,
mix.
but this only
It's a
happens
mix
near
between a
highly populated
Maybach
centers. People from
and a
across the
Mustang
country
GT.
and within the
But
counties
my wife ain't gonna
themselves
let me
are
get a
looking to
Mustang
move
GT
further away from cities
because
where
she's scared
housing
of
is
speed.
cheaper. There are
I actually
major
had
cities
one. I
like
actually had
places
two.
like Dallas that
I
are
had a
seeing
white one
declines in residents
and I
because
had
this
a
is a huge state
candy apple
that needs
red one with
development.
navy blue
The
interior.
allure is that much of this land
Um,
is cheap, but the
this was in the
downside is that
'90s,
everyone
but
needs a car if
my
they want
wife
to
ain't
live
gonna
within the
like. We
local
already.
area.
I
This
wanted to
is
get an
home to
Impala.
mega
I wanted to
highway
get that
networks and
reissue
traffic
like
jams
the
that
one
extend
they
for
reissued in the
miles.
'90s, and my wife was
The
like,
benefits of living in the state to get away
um.
from city life. So we know
But
that people
I've
are
you
moving,
know
but let's
I've
dig
driven
deeper into the
trucks for
reasons
when I say a
why.
truck
It actually comes as no
SUV,
surprise that people are
um,
leaving states
pickup
like
truck.
California and New York.
I've driven
So
trucks for a
when we
while.
look at
You
housing
know,
statistics, in
when I
general,
was
anyone living in New
driving
York typically
cars,
saves
when I
just a
had
few
those
times more
Mustangs,
money by moving to another state. It's
I was
estimated
hustling.
that housing costs
I just
are
put it out
about
there. I was hustling.
15 times
Um,
lower in most
but
states
then I got to a
compared to
point
New
where I
York,
got
which
really,
can
really
translate
serious
into
about
saving
music. I was done living that
$15,300 a
life.
year just
And
for
I was
moving.
buying
And here
trucks.
is where we
I
get
was
into
buying
the crux
SUVs
of why
because
people in the US are
I had
fleeing
to
states with
haul
large cities. When surveyed, around
not
half of
only
people who
drums,
moved in 2021
but I had a
stated
day
that
job.
high housing
And
costs
I
led
was,
them to
I
leave
was a
smaller
maintenance guy.
towns
Well,
or
I was before I was
neighborhoods. This
maintenance, I
resulted
was
in
doing
searches for cheaper
HVAC.
housing and larger
And
communities,
then
all
I
of which
well,
are
even
more
before
expensive in
HVAC,
states like the Carolinas, Florida,
I
and
went
Texas.
into
However,
masonry.
these
So I
statistics
was
can be
carrying
broken
equipment.
down even
And
further. There
then
are actually
I
three
went into
reasons why
HVAC
US citizens are
and I
leaving
was
certain
carrying that
states for
equipment.
others.
Um
According to moving
and
statistics
then, I was
2021,
doing
the majority of
HVAC
movers
and I was
cited
playing
weather related
drums,
reasons for
you know what I
moving.
mean?
However, when we dive
So
into the data, we
hauling
see that other factors
hauling
combined
my
with
work
jobs are driving
tools
the
and then
exodus out of
hauling
certain US
musical
states.
equipment. I'm
Between
used to hauling
2019
stuff,
and 2021,
you know.
work
And
related
then
jobs declined by nearly
and then what
19%.
happens
This
is
indicates that
I
while jobs are a main
I
factor
went
as
and
to why
got,
people are
you
moving,
know,
it's becoming less
it
prevalent
just,
in those ones. Now
it's
that
always been
families are
vehicles, it's always
moving
been
from cities
trucks,
with
it's
numerous
always
job
been SUVs.
opportunities to regions with
I
relatively
feel like,
fewer jobs,
and then for a
this is
while, what I would
counterintuitive,
do
but
is,
these
this
statistics
is,
can be deceiving
I
as
was
it's
doing
largely
maintenance, I was working
attributable to
maintenance.
our
They
moving
fired the
patterns
entire
and
maintenance staff.
companies as well. The
I was the
Sun
only
is
guy.
quickly becoming
I
one
was
of the
running
most
a
thriving job
700
markets
unit
in the
property.
country. The
I
states
had to
we've
pull call
identified as ones
every
where people
night.
are moving to were some of the
That means
first
I got
regions
off
to
work
recover after the
at 5 o'clock,
pandemic, and it's estimated that there are
went
about
home, ate,
5% more
kiss
jobs
my
in
wife,
places like the
kiss my baby
Carolinas,
daughter,
Florida, and
kiss my
Texas
baby
than
son,
before the
and go
pandemic
right back
started.
out.
The job
And then I
market
had to
in
pull a
southern
call all
regions where
night. So
people are moving
any
to
maintenance
are
emergency that was
reporting
happening,
about twice as
I
many
was first
as the
call. I was
rest of the
first
country.
response.
Job
And I did that
opportunities
for
and better
months and
work-life
months
balance have
and
definitely
months and months.
contributed
And
to
it was
these
really
states
by
being a
God
refuge for
that I was
more
able to pull
stable
that off. Not
policies.
only was I able to
There
pull
is
it off,
further proof that people moving to southern
I had gotten
states
to a
with
point
lower
where they would
economies
send
such
other
as New
people
York.
over
In Florida, there
from
is no
other properties to help
individual
me.
income
I'd be like,
tax,
y'all getting
which
in my
means
way.
residents of the
Get out
state
of my
don't
way.
need
Cause
to
now I
pay
gotta
federal
explain to
income
y'all
tax.
all this stuff needs
This
to be
is a
done. And
big
I don't have time to
difference for
explain to
people who
y'all.
either live
Y'all
in
either
a
figure it out
strategic or are
or just
trying
get
to
out my
save for
way.
the future.
And after a while, they were like, Mark don't
California
want no help.
accounts for
They would go
circa
back to the office like he don't want no
2%
help.
of this
But I
market.
was like, I
Texas
got
is the
this,
sunshine state,
you
but
know.
if the main
And then
goal is to move
I don't know
smoothly
how I was
through
doing
the
this.
market
This
in
is totally God.
Texas, Florida checks both
At the
boxes.
time, mind you,
That being said,
My wife, my daughter was
there is no individual income tax.
like she was like
While the
3.
state welcomes both
My
workers and
son
companies,
was
South and
1.
North Carolina have relatively low
We
income
lived on
taxes too,
property.
which is also a huge
No,
draw for
my
Americans.
son was
One thing becomes clear
1,
when looking at
about
the
to turn
trends
2.
between which states people are leaving and which states
So
are
my wife is
staying
a
in
stay-at-home
terms of
mom.
residents.
I'm
The
working
majority of
maintenance.
people are migrating from states with high
That's
taxes
what the
to
job
states
is
with
demanding of
zero
me.
or minimal income
Mind you,
tax.
I'm also
For many
playing
of
in
them,
church.
this all makes sense, and why it is
Sometimes I'm
great
asked to play
until
drums.
now for people to make such big
Sometimes I'm
moves.
asked to play
Most
bass.
analysts suspect
You
it
know
has
what I
a lot to
mean?
do with the
Um,
pandemic and how
and
it
on
has
top of
become
that, I'm
important.
actually playing in a hip
City
hop
life
group,
was
playing
fine
drums in a hip
until it
hop
wasn't,
group
and once people
on the
started
side.
realizing that there were opportunities like
And
the Uber
at this
exclusive parking
at that
structures in
time,
the
I was
United
playing
States, they
bass
took advantage of it.
for a chick.
And
I can't remember her
that
name.
absolutely played a role in
She
people
was
reassessing what they wanted
she
in the place where they
she
lived.
was a
Being able
singer. It
to
was a neo
afford a
soul
house or
group.
a condo that
So
would
I was
allow
all
them
over the
to give
place, man.
families space at an
You know,
affordable
I was
rate
all over the
started to
place,
become more desirable than
um,
a cramped apartment in the hip
trying to
neighborhood
figure
of the
things
second
out, man.
city.
You
In
know,
spite of this, though,
I think
most say
everybody,
that
I
financial
think
reasons
every
aren't the
man
only
needs
reason
to go through
people
something like that.
move. More and more
You
people are
need to
moving
spread
from
yourself
bigger
thin.
cities, and the states that house
You
them
need to
are doing
hustle. You
so
need to
more
learn how to
efficiently.
hustle. And on top of that, I had with I was always recycling. Like I would take scrap metal and take it to the recycling spot, or I'll take, because what I would do, my routine was I would be like cleaning up the property, but while I'm cleaning up the property, I'm getting all the cans, and I would have big bags of aluminum cans
Job
on my
opportunities
little
or
golf cart,
personal reasons.
and I would
In
take them,
fact,
sit them to the
most
side,
families that are
and then
leaving
after
urban
work, I
areas and heading to other states
crush
are
them all
admitting to
down.
making a
I had
sizable
rented a
impact.
garage.
This
I
just
would crush
shows
them
that
all down, stick them in
opportunities
the
are
bags, blah,
available
blah,
if
blah,
you
blah,
keep
blah.
driving the
Go
migration of new
inside,
residents
wash it
out of the
up,
cities and the
have dinner with the
attendant
wife and the
costs
kids,
go
and
up.
go back out
Recent
and go
surveys
pull a
show that
call.
moving to be
You know what I
closer to
mean?
family is now just
And
0.7%
I did that
behind
for a while,
urban
man.
movers. Moving to
Like
closer
I
to
said, I don't
family
know how
has
I did it, man. It
actually
was really
increased
by
by
the grace
almost
of God that I was able to
13%
pull it
since
off.
2015.
And I had gotten so
Although it
good
is
at
a
it, and my
massive
routine had
gain,
gotten
the percent
so down
behind
pat.
barely moves.
They
The
finally
gap between the
hired
two has now
3 other
closed to less than
guys
1%,
as
meaning that
maintenance.
it's not just population that's shifting
But because
northwards, but the
I
reasons
had
why
spent
they're
the most
moving
time on
are
that
changing
property,
as well.
they were asking me for a
Now,
lot
for
of
the
stuff, but it
region
was
you've
cool
been
because I knew they
in,
were staying there,
what
and it was
is the
just
biggest
relief for
reason
me.
why people are leaving
So what
cities
happens
for
is we
certain
start
states?
working.
Like
The
many
new
things, it
supervisor
all comes
saying,
down
"Mark, you do
to
this,
timing. Unless you
bro.
make
You do
a
this," and this
ton
dude
of
named
money, living in a
You
city
do
can be
this.
hard. Housing is expensive.
I not only was
Rent is
doing my
expensive.
work,
Taxes
I was
are
doing their work,
expensive. There are just a lot
and it
of
got to a
different
point
competing
where
things that suck the money
and
out
that's
of
what
people.
I go into an
Let's not just
obsessive
stay
kind
with the
of.
major cities.
If I'm
If
gonna
you
do
live in a
something, I'm like
$100,000
I'm
salary and
hyper
start making
focused on it.
peach, you might be
And
thinking,
it got to a
doesn't a
point where they were just kind of
$100,000
like,
salary get you
they said, "Look, man,
$100,000 a year?"
I've never seen anybody
Not
work like
necessarily.
you." They
Making six
basically
figures
created a
in New
position
York
for me,
City is like making
you know.
minimum wage in
Um,
many other parts of the
and
United
then
States.
right after that,
Analysts and financial advisors have
my
calculated
wife and
that a
I, we fasted and
$100,000
prayed.
salary in New York City
What
feels
do
like
you want to
making
do with our lives?
$35,000 in other parts of
Lord
the
God, what
US.
do you want to
There
do with
are
our
a couple of
lives?
reasons for this.
We
The
fasted
first
and
is that
prayed for
if you live
21
in New York
days.
City, you are
I
paying federal
fasted from the
taxes, New
world,
York state
and
taxes,
I
and New
fasted
York
from
City taxes.
choice
So
foods.
your
I knew I had to
$100,000
eat
is
food
being
because my
taxed
job was
almost
very
90%
demanding.
over
My
your
life
income
was very
tax.
demanding.
Then there's the
So I
responsibility
needed
of
some
living.
kind of
This
sustenance. So I just
$35,000
ate
a month apartment
boiled
would make
chicken
things
and
really
boiled rice. It
expensive.
was
For this
disgusting,
amount of rent, you are
but that I
likely
was
in
like,
a
whatever.
studio
So we
about
read and
the
we
size of a
prayed,
broom closet.
and
And to break
she
this
was
down
pregnant
further,
at the
the
time, so
federal,
she
state, and
fasted from the
city
world.
government keeps
She was
around
pregnant with our third,
25%
so she
of
couldn't
your
fast from
monthly
food or
payment,
anything. So we
meaning your
fasted from the world
$100,000
and everything.
salary is immediately cut to
And after the
$75,000. Then you
21-day
spend
fast,
$42,000 a year
I
on
got a
rent,
raise
so
and a promotion.
75,000 becomes
And
33,000.
I'm thinking, okay,
Inflate that
God,
through days
one of my
and you
things
likely
was,
spend around
okay, God, if you
$150 a
don't want me to
week
be a
just to treat
musician,
yourself. A lot.
you take the
But
desire
if
for
you
music
see
out of
how
my heart.
quickly
You know,
$100,000
you
disappears,
see me before,
therefore
cool.
it's unsurprising that
Um,
many people are fleeing New
um,
York City and
take this
this
desire to
expensive
play
cost of
music
living
out of my
for a
heart. I
cheaper
love
part of the
music.
country.
I've
In
always
Washington,
loved
D.C.
music.
and Los
Take
Angeles,
it, because
$100,000
if I'm not playing it, I'm not
a
gonna be
year
happy.
feeling
I'm
more
gonna be
like
miserable.
$45,000 due to
like, you obviously put me here to play music, you know, and I respect that. But if you don't want me to play music, that's cool. But you got to let me know, you know. And these are the things I'm praying about God. And my wife is like, okay, I'm on my third kid. After we have finish having kids, because we have 4 kids. She's like, after I finish having kids, what am I gonna do with my life? And that was her prayer. After the 21-day fast, I don't know how I pulled that off because it snowed. And I'm from the Northeast. I'm used to dealing with snow. You got to get out there, get your hands dirty. You got to shovel. You have to shovel. And the other 2 dudes, they was pansies. One dude was from California, so he ain't know what he was doing. Orr was a little older in age, so I ain't really expect much out of Orr. But me and Orr was real cool. Or as a matter of fact, me and Orr had a deal. Orr was like, "Yo, you take care of the shoveling stuff. I'll take care of all the work orders, so you don't gotta worry about nothing." I said, "My man." That was the deal we had. Meanwhile, the other dude, I don't know, he would be in the office like kicking dirt on our backs, so I wasn't worried about him. That stuff, I don't get mad. They usually end up sabotaging their own situation, so I wasn't even worried about that. I really feel bad for the guy because the guy was cool. You don't got to go through life hurting people or kicking dirt on people, but that's him. That's something he got to learn. But I ended up working so hard, man. I was working circles around people, and then, again, they created a position for me. They made a position for me because they didn't want me to go. And I got laid off. They laid the entire maintenance staff off. And so for a while, now mind you, we lived on property. So if I'm not working there, I either got to pay that ridiculous rent because we had a nice apartment for the low, and it was a real nice apartment. Either that or we got to leave. So I was like, we'll figure something out. So we prayed about it, and I got laid off on Thursday. She had the baby on Friday. No, she went into the hospital on Friday. I left her at the hospital and then put our stuff in storage. Went back to the hospital, and then Saturday morning, she had our son, our third child, Davis. She had him early. Later on in the day, this is how fast my wife recovered. We had family coming in, and they was visiting. My wife was just like on some chipper stuff. Okay, whatever. Hey, here he is. Like her recovery was like ridiculous. But family came in, and then Sunday, little man, he's sleeping there. The other 2 kids are with relatives, and we said, let's take communion. And we took communion. And as we're praying, a friend of mine and his wife heard about our situation and said, "Hey, we heard about your situation. We got a house for you. We got a house for you." And I was like, "God, if this is the house for us, let me know." And I said, "Let there be a nice garage or a basement." Or no, something said a garage. Something just literally said a garage. And I walked in, I said, and then I was like, when he said that, the first thing I thought was a garage. So then when I went there, when I went and saw this house, I was like, "Oh, this is perfect. This is perfect." So we moved into here. We made a deal with him in terms of like payment and everything. And then we was like rent with the option to buy. They were selling it on their own. It was their house. So we made a deal. And then my wife got a ridiculously big check because her mom was murdered when she was 9 years old. And they had to pay 23 years worth of interest. So she went to school, and I bought gear. And that was 13 years ago. And we still going, I'm still playing music. Now she's a therapist. She went to school. She got a master's. She's considering going back for her doctorate. I told her she could do it. I'm like, you can do it. You got it in you. You can do it. I think you can do it. You know, you definitely can do it. So she's considering getting her doctorate. She just got offered a position that that has a program they're rolling out in Georgia, but they want her to roll it out nationwide. So, you know, we're watching, you know, we're watching things, and mind you, times are hard, life is hard, you know. We're raising four kids. This is all while raising four kids. We still have four kids in the house. Our oldest is about to go to college, which is a blessing, you know. Um, but times are hard, man. But you know, I think I think I think you got to take stock of what you have. I think it's easy to look on social media or you know or whatever, you know, or look around you and see what you don't have, and you don't realize what you do have. Like with my mom, traveling all around. Like she worked for the airline, so we went to Bermuda, Bahamas, Japan, Hong Kong, London, Kenya, Johannesburg, Italy, Mexico, Haiti, Puerto Rico, Rio, Argentina, all over the states, you know. But my mom was like, I'm going to take advantage of this job, and I want to take my kids all around the world, you know. I want them to experience the world. And in experience the world, experiencing the world, I've seen people who are like Jamaica. I've seen people who were broke. We in America, we think, oh, la, la, la. Go to another country. Go to another country and see how they're living. I've seen people who are broke, like broke, you know, and they're playing. They're, you know, little kids are playing. That's their reality, you know. Um, so it's hard for me to look at America, and this isn't an anti-left thing, and this isn't an anti-right thing. This is an issue with America. We are so full of ourselves, and we don't realize, like, we are fortunate. We are fortunate. There's a reason why people are like, and this is not an exaggeration, people are risking their lives to come over here. Them boat people, you think they coming over here on donzies and yachts? You know what I mean? Like there's people who will brave shark infested waters, or brave poachers, or brave sex traffickers to get to America. Like that's, and we don't realize that. We don't realize like everything comes natural to us. Even we complain about like the bureaucracy of the government, but there's certain checks and balances in office that pay for the street lights. They pay for the roads. They pay for everything getting mapped out. They pay for all the infrastructure design and all of that stuff. They pay for when you're riding over a bridge and it doesn't collapse. If you think that's no big deal, go to China. Their infrastructure is crumbling. Their older stuff is lasting faster, is lasting longer than the new stuff. We don't have to worry about that. Like there's so many things that America we don't have to worry about, and I think we become immune to examining the real. We think that America is the reality for everybody else. America ain't. We can go right down to the border to Mexico and realize this ain't the reality. This ain't the world reality. And then when you go to Mexico, you like, oh, well, that's just Mexico. No, that's a lot of the world. That's a lot of the world that's like that. You know what I mean? So I think just as America, we need to repent of just being so full of ourselves and just thinking that we it. We're not it. We're not, you know. And don't get me wrong, I love this country. I love this. I love America. You know, even with the whole, you know, the history of slavery, I don't care. This is the greatest country in the world. And that doesn't demean slavery. But what that got to do with this country being the greatest country in the world? This is the greatest country. Why do you think people don't want to leave? Americans, we're not flocking to leave. We want to stay. You know, that doesn't make it perfect. It's not perfect. And well, I'm not gonna say there's no thought in it. I think we have an inherent racial issue. But I'd rather have an inherent racial issue in America than anywhere else. I love this country, you know, and I think I don't know. I don't know. You know, as far as this Biden versus Trump thing, man, I don't care about that stuff. It's just amusement, you know. It's just amusement. I'm like this, man. You know, I can't. I hustle, man. I hustle. I don't care who's in office. You can't stop my hustle, bro. You can't. You can't stop my hustle. You can't. I'll make mine. I'll invent ways to make money. I'll sell snow to an Eskimo. Like I'll figure out how to make money. And I was doing that before I was married with a wife and kids. Now I got drive. You know what I mean? I hustle, bro. I done been there. I done did it. You know, so like the whole issue of Biden versus Trump, man, nobody gonna stop my hustle. You can put a monkey in office. I bet you I'll figure out a way to make money. It's not, man. You know, so I think and that doesn't mean I think we should just ignore politics. No, we should definitely get involved in politics. But politics is a long game. It's you know, I don't like. I'm gonna share something with you. I'm gonna share something with you. If you're white, I'm gonna share something with you that it will probably surprise you. Most black folks are conservative. We're depicted as left leaning. Most black folks are conservative. You don't believe me? Ask the LGBTQ community. The only reason why we don't vote conservative is because we don't like the racist connotations in modern conservatism. Lincoln was a Republican. You know what I mean? But let me tell you something. The right wing, they have the answer, and they don't even. The moment you start downing black folks, we're not, or you start discounting the experience of African Americans in America. And this is coming from a guy who I was just saying, I love America and I don't slavery, whatever. I care about slavery, yeah, but that has no bearings on, you know, whether America is a great country or not. America, let's just be honest, it's a great country. But one of the things it needs to repent of is, you know, is the race issues. You know what I mean? You know, and really, even the like. Well, I think they have repented in a sense, but not completely, of just like the pay gap between men and women. But that's a very complicated issue because men tend to take the dirty jobs or the dangerous jobs, and you get paid for the dirty jobs and the dangerous jobs. So it is what it is. But there are instances where women are being slighted. Women are being paid less, you know, because whatever. You know, there are instances of that, you know. So, I mean, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, can't nobody stop my hustle, you know, and black folks are surprisingly a lot more conservative and a lot more right leaning than people realize. We just don't like the racist connotations that kind of like once you start getting into alt right stuff, a lot of that stuff is racist, and then it bleeds right into the right wing rhetoric, And black folks are like this. When we hear right wing stuff, we like, yeah, 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 yeah. And then as soon as we start hearing that stuff about, like, even if it's dog whistle politics, like, black folks are stupid. We like, nah, nope, nope. Because we know where the dog whistle politics come from. They come from some racist fool, and it just gets watered down and watered down and watered down until it becomes dog whistle politics. You know what I mean? Like, if you remove that, everybody, black folks would be voting. They'd be voting. They would flock to Trump. They would flock to the right. You know what I mean? That's the only thing. I'm telling you, most black folks are conservative. That's why the LGBTQ community, they look at the black community like, ugh, y'all are stank. Because we're very conservative. We're very conservative. We're very family oriented. Like, you know what I mean? Even a notion of, oh, white women are taking black men. About 85%, the 80 to 85% of black men are married to black women. That's a farce. Like, white women aren't taking black men. White women are not, they're not depleting the African American community of black men, of their biggest asset, the biggest resource, black men. They're not. Most black men are married to black women. You know what I mean? That's just internet goofiness. You know what I mean? So it's like, even the whole thing where, oh, these women nowadays and blah 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 blah. And whenever a guy talks about how these women are, and they're talking that red pill stuff, whenever they look at that, whenever they talk about that stuff, where do they pull from? I'll tell you. They pull from TikTok. They pull from Instagram. They pull from YouTube. They pull from all these reels, all these little TikTok videos of these goofy girls who, like, they know nothing. These are social media morons. They're on here talking about, I want this. I want a man 6 feet tall, with six figures, and he gotta be good looking, gotta have a six pack, you know what I mean? Like, this is what they want. What you don't see is all the normal women who said, oh, well, blah, blah, they gave reasonable answers. What they did is they recorded the numbskulls who repeated that goofiness. And then they clip that, and then they take that and they form a whole dissertation on how modern women are horrible based on these numbskulls that they recorded. Never mind the thousands of reasonable women that gave reasonable answers, but it's not sexy, it's not cool, it doesn't catch clicks. You know what I mean? And then what happens is, you look at that, not you, like, just people in general, they look at that and they assume that is the world. Like, that's just women. That's modern women. That is not modern women. Those are instances. So every woman on TikTok that says that, represents all the women in America. Like, the numbers don't even make sense. Like that, they're not like that. It just doesn't make sense. And if you go out in the real world and carry conversations with real people and have real meaningful conversations one-on-one with people, male or female, you'll realize that social media stuff is goofiness. They're making money off of you. Oh, thank you. Yeah. You know what I mean? You know, it's dude, it's a scam, bro. Once you click on all that manosphere stuff, let me tell you something. And conversely, all those women, they make these anti-men stuff and all of that. That's like, and granted, there's some Pookies and Ray Rays out there. They're out there. I know a lot of them. I know a lot of Pookies and Ray Rays. They still out there, Pookie and Ray Ray. And meanwhile, me and the other boys, we all married with kids, living good lives. They still Pookie and Ray Ray. That is an aspect. But the fact of the matter is, that's not men. That's not most men. That's not black men. That's not white men. That's not Asian men. That's not Latino men. That's not men. The majority of black men, white men, Asian, and Latino men, they just want a job. They want a good woman. They want to make a good living and live a good life. That's it. That's it. You know? But you wouldn't know that based on social media. You wouldn't know that. If you looked at social media, you would think, oh well, this is the world. No, it's not the world, man. It's not the world. It's the bubble that you live in. You know, it's what you feed in your face. It's what you feed in your eyes. It's the information that you're taking in. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, and that really, and I know this because I've been outside of America. I've been outside of America. I've been outside of America extensively. I've been outside of America so much that I almost got left back in my 11th grade year. I almost got left back. Like it, you know what I mean? It's like I've been outside America and I've seen how people in other countries live, the rich people and the poor people. Like, you know what I mean? And there's a lot like and then you come to America, it's weird, it's wild because if you spend a lot of time outside the country, when you come to America, you're like you realize like, wow, man, we're really shallow. We really think we're all that. Wow. Like you realize it. You're like, wow, we're really arrogant. Like Americans are really arrogant. We really are. We're very arrogant, you know. Um I love America, but I just got to be honest. You know, I got to be honest. We're very arrogant. You don't realize that until you leave the country. Leaving the country is very humbling. It's very humbling. You know, it's fair. And my traveling days were when I traveled at the time when it was unpopular for black people to travel, let alone people like middle class people. It was a rarity. Well, it was a rarity for black, especially for black people. So when they saw us get off of planes, we instantly they looked at us like we were stars. They were like, "Who are you guys? Like what? Like you know?" They assumed we were rich. They didn't know my mom was getting free comp tickets. They ain't know that. They ain't know nothing. They ain't know that the hotel we're staying in is comp. Yeah, yeah, it's a penthouse. It's comp. We ain't pay for it. The only thing we paid for were the clothes on our back and the clothes that we had in the suitcases. You know, and the souvenirs and some of the food we paid for. So, you know, but they looked at us like they assumed we paid for all this stuff and we had money and all of that stuff. You know what I mean? So we were fortunate. We're fortunate to travel the world, you know, on the airline's budget. Um, and it was very fulfilling. I remember getting called the N word. Um, we stayed in this hotel called the Hotel Michigan. It was like maybe it was like maybe 250 meters from the Roman Coliseum. You could literally walk outside. From what I remember, look to your right, and the Coliseum was right there. Um, and what people would do at the time, it was closed down for renovations. They usually gave tours in the Coliseum, but it's an old building. It's closed down for renovations. But what you it's kind of like, you know, in America, you go on your lunch break. What do? Some people go to a park. They sit out there, they eat, they relax, whatever. And that's how it was, you know, in Italy, like in front of the Coliseum. There's like a big area where people just hang out. There's like seats out there, like chairs, like fold up chairs and stuff like that, and tables. And people be on, you know, what? Well, they weren't on their laptop back then. I would assume now, but people be out there, you know, reading the newspaper, drinking some espresso. You know, you would see like their schools. They don't like their schools are like the teachers are monsignors. And you had a school of some kids, um some little, they were probably like in the third or fourth grade, and they were walking. It was probably like a school trip, and they were walking. The Monsignor was there. I never forget, this white dude. He had the long black dress with the white collar, and he had some glasses, and he had a comb over, and he was walking, and the little kids like, again, this isn't like the early 90s. This is like the ladies, early 80s, early 90s. And you know, we're sticking out like a sore thumb. Like, who are these rich black people? Like, that's what they're assuming. They don't know we broke. They don't know we poor. But they're looking at us because we like. They're like, wow, they're dressed nice. They got nice clothes. Blah 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 blah. They're clearly American, But how are they? How can this is what's going through their head? Black folks weren't traveling. They weren't, and especially the world. They weren't traveling the world. You know. Um. So then what happens is the Monsignor walks up with the kids. They're like looking like they're in the fourth, third, fourth, the latest fifth grade. This one kid, he was a brown skinned kid. Never forget it. He was a brown skinned kid, but he had blonde hair and blue eyes. And he said something, something, something. Basically, in the translation, look at the N words, look at the N words. And the kids start laughing. I'm watching it. The kids start laughing. The Monsignor looks at us and starts scolding a little kid in Italian. He starts scolding a little kid in Italian. Then he turns around, looks at us like, I'm very sorry, I'm very sorry. You know what I mean? He probably thought we was some diplomats' kids or something. Or my mom was the wife of some diplomat or something like that. That's probably why he was like, I'm very sorry. He's like, oh, I'm gonna get in trouble with the state or whatever, the state consulate. Whoever, I don't know. All I know, the little man called us the N-word. And it was wild. But it was such a wild experience. I didn't get mad. I was just like, it was just a wild experience, man. It wasn't wild as in offensive. It was wild as in, I'm in Italy. I done got called the N-word walking down the street in Jersey. That's not wild. That's not special. That's just annoying. In Italy? Who else? You know what I mean? It's not that I'm like, man, words don't really, call me what you want. Just don't put no hands on me. Don't disrespect my wife or kids. You know what I mean? That's my job, is to protect my wife and kids. That's it. So, I was just like, man, I was just soaking up the Roman Coliseum. We got to see all that stuff. We got to see the Appian Way, which the way they built it was, the way they would build roads is they would throw salt on the roads, and salt would kill all the vegetation. And then they just get bricks, and they would just they would kind of pound it down. They had this big roller. There's a metal roller, you know, and they would just roll it. Like the same thing they kind of do it nowadays. They would roll it by hand. Nowadays they got a machine. You just ride on it. They would roll it. I don't know if they got slaves or whatever, but they would roll it. They would roll the road, and then they would put bricks on it. They put like borders on it, and they lay the bricks down, and it's still around. Their arches, all of that stuff. That stuff's still around. You know, the Romans, they made cement that we can't. They The cement they used was a grade that we can't even figure out what it is. Like the cement they used then is way better than the stuff we use now. The stuff we use now it doesn't last nowhere near as long as the stuff they used back in the Roman days. You know, went to Israel. That was a great trip. Went to Egypt. Um, yeah, I went to Africa. I went to specifically Kenya. Well, Egypt is Africa. As much as they would like to exclude themselves, they are Africa. They are in the continent of Africa. They are specifically North Africa. It's Africa. Period. Y'all can say we're not Africa. Yes, you are. But the when we went to Kenya, Kenya was nice, man. We went to Jomo Kenyatta. We flew into Jomo Kenyatta International Airport in Nairobi. And you go to the airport, it's just like the difference between there and America is it's just mostly black people. There's a few white people. There's mostly black people. But they got all the same things. They got buildings. They got all of that big, like everything. It's suburban. It's modern. It's whatever. And then you go and you go into the city of Nairobi, and it was nice. It was like McDonald's, and it was regular. They had paved roads, and it's just taxis and everything. It was regular. And then you go out to the suburbs, and they got manicured lawns. Just it's nice and warm. You know what I mean? The streets ain't tore up because, like, I know I'm from the Northeast. Streets always get tour up because of the weather and all of this stuff. So in Kenya, you don't see none of that. You just see nice, everything's all nice because they don't got to worry about snow and and salt because you got to salt the roads and the roads start deteriorating. They don't worry about that. So their roads are great in the suburbs. The difference between Kenya and America is outside of the suburbs. In America, you have the plains, it's just grass for miles, or you have the forest, where it's just trees like Yosemite, it's just trees, or you have the desert, like you have Mojave Desert, or you have mountains, where you have the Rocky Mountains, you got the Appalachian Mountains, and then you got the Pocono Mountains, you know what I mean, and then you got the Sierra Nevada Mountains, you know. Well, outside of the suburbs in Kenya is the bush. And the bush is literally 3 to 4 foot high grass as far as you can see. And you way in the background, you see a snow-capped mountain. That's Mount Kilimanjaro. Don't get out. We learned this on a safari. Do not get out of your vehicle. Don't even roll the window down, because you will get snatched. They told, do not roll the window down. Do not get out of the Range Rover, because it was a Range Rover. Do not get out of the Range Rover. And do not roll the window down. They will get you. They will grab you. Like they tell you, don't do it. Straight up, man. It's a beautiful country, but don't go out in the bush. And the thing about it is the grass, the tall grass is the same color as the lions. So you can find yourself, I'm going to dance in the grass. And you'll dance right on a lion. Straight up. Like, I love it. But, like, going on that safari, it was wild, bro. Listen, the safari we had, it was in Tsavo National Park. And what it was like a trail. It was like you went here, like you drove out, and you see like the Maasai tribe and everything, people living out there. You go here, like you see all this stuff. You're like, whoa, snap. And this dude is like describing all this stuff and like, look, this is what the animals do, and this is what the lions do. And then you go to like a lodge. You go there, it's got a pool, it's got food, everything's taken care of. You don't got to buy nothing unless you want some souvenirs or whatever. And even they got free souvenirs, but unless you want something nicer, you could buy at the souvenir shop. But this was all part of the safari. You go to other lodges. The safari was for a week. No, it's for 5 days. But like on the first day, you go from one area, and then at the end, you stay at the lodge. Like I jumped in the pool, swam around, got something to eat, went to bed. And then the next day, you wake up, and you got your clothes, you get your stuff ready. You go downstairs at like 8 o'clock, and the tour starts at 8:30. You get back in the range, and you go on another path. You know what I mean? And you go through. It's wild, bro. And until that, at the end of the day, you're at another lodge, and then you stay there. And that's how it is. That's how the safari is. But that was, man, and we actually caught a flat on the lava flows at the base of Mount Kilimanjaro, which was kind of wild. But yeah, man, I suggest not just black folks, but everybody go to Africa. Go on a safari. That was one of the best trips I ever had. You know what I mean? And then when we went to England, we started changing in the guard. A pigeon pooped on my mama's head, and them dudes with the bear hats and the red jackets and the black shoes. I mean, the black pants and the black shoes. They be standing there like. I remember, I kept looking at this dude. Like, I'm looking at this dude. He was standing there like, because when you're going through like with the changing of the guards, like they're out there. They're patrolling. Them dudes with the red coats with the bear hats. They out there with their guns. You better not come running. Them, and then they got the beef eaters with the curly things on their neck. The beef eaters, what they do is there's crows. He got pet crows, and he feed them beef. Hence, beef feeders. He feeds them beef, and the crows come down. They chop up beef, and the crows come down, and he feeds them. I can't remember the tradition behind that, but what happened is I'm looking at this dude. Now I'm like maybe 12, maybe 12 or 13. And I'm a curious kid, man. I'm one of those kids where I was just like, I say whatever I thought out loud. And I'm looking at the dude, and the dude, I think he can sense me looking at him, but he's just kind of like, la la la. So I walk up to him, and I'm looking at the dude like this. You know, I'm like, this dude is really, because in my mind, I'm like, man, this dude really, he not moving. He just sitting there like this. I'm like, oh, snap. So I'm like, I'm staring at him like this. Well, I'm like a 12, 13-year-old kid. Then he does this. He looks down and winks at me and does this. I'm like, he moved. Now, his job was to not move. I done blew this man's job. I done blew his cover up. I'm like, he moved. He moved. His expression went from this to like he was instantly scared. So I had a lot of then another time, we were this is like we were going to Hong Kong. And on the way to Hong Kong, we had to stop at Tokyo International Airport, which is actually an island. I didn't realize it then, but it's an island. Um, but when we were going to Hong Kong, um, there was a guy who kept staring at me. We're sitting in the airport. My mom's dealing with the ticket agent because she's like, oh, yeah, here's blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, you're going to Hong Kong? Cool. Well, here, we'll just take this. Blah, 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 blah. Y'all sit over there and a connecting flight will be there. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we sitting down. I'm sitting, we're sitting, our back is to the desk is over there. I'm sitting this way. We got the luggage over here. I'm looking over. There's a dude with a bunch of luggage. There's a blonde haired dude with curly hair. And we're talking. We're obviously American. We're obviously American. I look over. He's staring at me. I'm like, why this white dude staring at me, man? And it's not a threatening stare. It's I wonder if he recognized me kind of. It's almost I didn't realize that until hindsight is 2020. I'm looking at him. I'm like, and eventually I'm like, I've seen this guy before, so I keep looking at him. I'm like, and every time he looks at me, he kind of smiles because I think he notices something. So I turn away real fast, and then I look at him. I'm like, man, I know this dude from somewhere, man. I know him from somewhere. So he looks at me again, and he's got a smile because he knows, like, oh, he recognizes me. So I'm like, turning my head. They call us to board the plane. We get on the plane. We fly all the way to Hong Kong from Tokyo International Airport. We're in Hong Kong. We're getting off the plane. There was a group that was really big in the 80s called Men at Work. They did I can't remember what it's called, man. They had a huge hit. They had a bunch of hits back in the day. But they were a really good band. They were out of Australia. It's called Men at Work. I see the lead singer, Colin Hay, walk. I'm like, Colin Hay! Then I realized the white dude that was staring at me was the keyboardist from Men at Work. I'm like, oh, snap. And then the dude, the blonde hair dude that was staring at me, he walks up. I'm like, that's where I know you from. And he starts laughing. I'm like, can I have a autograph? And they were kind of in a hurry. But they gave me an autograph. And I was like, can I take a picture? And he was just like, and they instantly went into, and took a picture. It was cool, man. It was cool. I met a lot of famous people. I met George Kennedy. He's dead now, but he was a famous actor back in the day. I met him. I met Phoebe Cates. I met so many famous people just from the airlines. Just meeting people in the airport, what have you. This is when fame really meant something. Now everybody's famous. Like you got Sexy Red out there. Like you got Ratchet. Yeah, Vegemite. Yeah, Vegemite. Um, um, Vegemite is some nasty stuff. Vegemite. Oh my God, Vegemite is nasty. That made me want to buy it. Made me want to try Vegemite. And my son tried it. He said, "I tried it, Dad. It was disgusting." I was like, "What do you mean?" He said, "It tastes like nasty, like salt." I was like, "Oh, nah, I'm good." Um, But yeah, I met a lot of people, man. I met a lot of famous people. You know, and like I said, this is when fame was different. Fame was like, oh. Now it's like nothing to be famous. Fame is just like, so what? You know. Um, I remember I remember when we went to Mexico City. I'm the youngest of three children. I have two older sisters. He's the oldest of three kids. He has two younger sisters. So we were raised more like brothers. So we were kind of each other's brothers. And I remember this. His name is Randy. And I'm like, yo, I mean, we were crying. We were just crimies. I was like, yo, let's get out of here. So I think Randy was 9. I was 13. He was 9. I was 13. Randy like, all right, cool. Wait, 9. No, I was 12. He's 3 years younger. I was 12. He's like, all right, cool. We get on an elevator. We like stalling the elevator and whatnot. Like, do crazy stuff, man. We used to do some crazy stuff. We stalled the elevator between floors. We had to climb out of it. I was like, yo, come on, man. So I had to boost him up, and then I had to climb out of it, man. Um, um, but yeah, man, we used to do some wild stuff, and that was little stuff, man. That was little stuff. We did that in Mexico City. Um, I never went to Hawaii. I always wanted to go. Always wanted to go to Hawaii. Um, but like it was like normal for like my mom, because again, my mom worked for the airline, so she would get comp tickets to like basketball games. I saw Michael Jackson. I saw Michael Jackson during the Off the Wall tour. I saw Michael Jackson during. It wasn't a lot of people think there was a Beat It tour. There was no Beat It tour. That was the Victory tour. I saw that. I went to the Victory tour. Yeah, there was no Beat It or not like that. There was that was the Victory tour. That was the Jacksons. He did that tour with the Jackson with his brothers. Everything after that, it was just him. It was Jackson. It was just Michael Jackson. But yeah, he did that with. I saw them both when when it was like the whole family. They all played. They all toured. Um, but yeah, that was just comp tickets. You know what I mean? Like I saw. My mom had some tickets. She said, "You ever hear this band Van something?" I'm like, "Van what?" I'm like, "You talking about Van what's his name? Van Morrison?" She like, "No, Van something. Van, I don't know, Van Heflin, Van something like that." I said, "Nah." She said, "Well, I got some tickets." She said, "You know who Black Sabbath is?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, it's like a Black Sabbath Van something tickets. You want the tickets?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Where they at?" She's like, "They're gonna be at the convention hall." I said, "All right, that was the next time away, Asbury Park." So, um, I went there, and I think months earlier, Warner Brothers had a thing where you could pay $1.99, and then it was like a record club because Columbia had it first and Warner Brothers had it, and they had a thing where you could pay $1.99 a month, and they send you stuff, and they sent Van Halen one, and Van Halen one to me was trash. It was trash. I didn't like it. It was garbage until I went to that Van Halen concert, and they opened up for Black Sabbath. They rocked the house so hard. And mind you, the convention hall in Asbury Park is it's a convention hall. It's an old convention hall from back in the day when Teddy Roosevelt was president. That's how old it is. It's a convention hall, but it was retrofitted. They had ceiling tiles, like the drop ceiling tiles and all of that. Man, Van Halen was rocking so hard, the ceiling tiles were falling out the ceiling. It left you with the who is that, and where are they from? I went home and remembered I had that album and took another listen and was like, I didn't realize. I'm sorry, y'all. I didn't realize the greatness of Van Halen. I had the record. I listened to it. It sounded like something from Mars. I was used to Jimmy Page. You know what I mean? I was used to Tony Iommi. You know what I mean? I was used to Jimi Hendrix. You know what I mean? I was used to those guys. I wasn't used to Eddie Van Halen. Eddie Van Halen was like it sounded, it almost didn't, I was like, this sounds fake. Like, what is, I didn't get it, man. Until I saw them live in concert in 1978 at the Convention Hall on their first tour. They was open up for Sabbath. When they left the stage, we left. There was nothing left. I'm telling you. When they left the stage, we left. We didn't even want to see Sabbath because it was just like, Ozzy was all drunk. It was like, nah, dog. You know what I mean? It was me and a dude, he died. This dude named Neil Holloway. We were like two of the only black dudes who liked rock and roll in the neighborhood. There was a few of us, but he was like the first one I met. Um, and he was older than me. He was like, I'm 13 back then. He was 16. He was like 17. Um, but yeah, there was a lot of I done seen a lot of stuff, man. I've been Iron Maiden, Quiet Riot. Um, I never got to see Randy Rhoads live. I wish I could have. I never got to see Randy Rhoads live, man. Um, I got to see Kurt Cobain. He did a gig one time. He did a local gig. Um, they were like, they were good, but they were like, you know. I'll be honest, man. Everybody in that scene, it was called grunge. It was alternative. It was the alternative scene. That's what we saw it as, alternative, because we were playing in the same kind of band as, like, there was another band that was with us. We would do shows together. Big Nurse, which was another trio. And the bass player was the singer. Um, and then for us, we didn't have a name. It was just like Tony Tedesco, and he Tony was the guitarist, and Tony Pingator was the bass player, and I was the drummer. But we were doing the same stuff, man. We were doing alternative. We were doing the same stuff, Nirvana and Mother Love Bone, you know what I mean, and Pearl Jam. We were that was the scene. That was the underground it was the alternative rock scene. Like when they were doing the hip wiggling hair farmer, big hair, Poison, all that stuff. When they were doing that, there was an underground scene that I was part of, and like a lot of us were part of. And for me, I flip flop between hip hop, jazz, and alternative. You know what I mean? But yeah, like I understand Kurt Cobain. I understand him. You know, I understand a lot of what he struggled with. You know, um, he signed up for something when that's not what he wanted. And I look at it now, I'd be dead, man. I would have died of an overdose, or it would have been behind the music. The drummer for Tony Tedesco's band, the drummer for the Tony Tedesco band, behind the music. I know it would. I would have died. I wouldn't be married. I wouldn't have kids. I'd be worm food. Um, but you know, I'm like I'm blessed that I survived. Cause a lot of my musician friends, man, a lot of them overdosed. A lot of them just didn't make it, man. A lot of them just didn't make it. You know, and the ones that did make it, like when I say make it out alive, didn't end up a tragedy or a casualty. A lot of them, like Tony Pingator, is doing good. He's married with kids. Tedesco he's doing good. He's still doing music, but he's retired from Microsoft. He started working in working from Microsoft in '95. and he was writing programs, insurance programs for Microsoft, insurance assessment programs for Microsoft. And he pretty much worked from home. You know, made boatloads of money, but he was still, you know, he's still a musician. You know, so um, but yeah, man. So I've seen a lot of changes in music. I've seen I've seen when hip hop hit the scene. Um, I got a burp and it won't come out. When hip hop hit the scene, a lot of people, a lot of drummers just stopped playing. They stopped playing, and in my mind, I was like, I love music. I'm not gonna stop playing. I'm gonna figure this stuff out. So I started making beats and I started sampling stuff. I started figuring stuff out because I was like, I love music and I don't want to, you know, I was like, if you get rid of drums, I'm gonna get in where I fit in. So I learned production and I learned engineering, and I, you know what I mean. And then you saw a turn where they were at first they were doing all these live shows with, you know, a DJ and some dancers. That's it, a DJ and some dancers, and that was horrible. So then they said, okay, let's bring back the live band. So then you saw the evolution of rappers and, you know, just people in general having live bands. So then when you saw that, you saw the proliferation of guys who could play effortlessly to a click. Um, Couple that with the fact that the digital, everything was going from physical to digital. So if you got an MP3 player full of a bunch of songs, full of like 100 megabytes of songs, which really ain't a lot, but that was a lot back then. Um, you could sit there and just play along to your headphones, and it raised the bar in terms of timing for drummers. You had to have metronomic time, because now these artists, they're getting rid of the DJs and they're getting rid of the dancers and all this, you know, stuff that's really quantized, but they wanted to sound exactly like the record. They needed to sound exactly like. Some people may not like that. I appreciate that because it is what it is. You can't complete. It is what it is. Some people are different. Some people they want it completely like the record. Some people play it. We used to purposely play stuff faster than what you heard on the record, just to amp stuff up. And a lot of times, the artists you're playing for, they're tired of playing it at 122 BPMs every single night. They're tired of that. They'll shake it up. Oh, okay, let's speed this up. You know, that happens all the time. That happens so many times. I'll literally be like, but I learned it based on this. I checked the time, and then I don't even make that. I don't even object like that anymore. I just literally walk in. I play. If I learn a song, I'm learning it, and I'll be like, I know that the speed is just, the timing is gonna be dependent on what they feel, and mm, roughly 80% of the time, the person leading the band, if they played that song a lot, they're gonna ask you to speed it up because it adds edge to it. Um, so, but the thing about it is, back then, drummers were they had to have metronomic timing. Fast forward that with YouTube, now dudes could shed, you know what I mean? Because Facebook was a little different. I remember when I was on Facebook, man, I was like one of the first, one of the only drummers that's really, really posting like that on Facebook. Um, and then there was guys like Tony Royster and what have you, and Thomas Pridgeon. They were on Facebook. Um, Not Facebook, on MySpace. They were on MySpace. And then when YouTube popped off, I got on YouTube in '07 and instantly started posting. I was posting like Billy Cobham drum solos, all kinds of stuff that I transcribed, and I was posting that stuff and playing it. Um, and then when Vine popped off, I was the first drummer on Vine. The first drummer on Vine. When Facebook popped off, I was on Facebook when really nobody was on Facebook. I was just posting stuff. I don't know if I was the first one, but nobody was on Facebook. Nobody was on Facebook. I was posting videos on that, and then Instagram. Instagram ain't had no videos, but the moment they wanted to compete with Vine and they started having videos, I started posting videos. I would have like sometimes y'all might see me post like an 8 second clip. It's probably an old clip that I posted back in the day, especially if it sounds different. It's probably an old clip, you know. Um, and then after that, I was just by then everybody it was catching up. You know, they started posting everywhere and stuff like that. So, but yeah, a lot. Matter of fact, I got so many. I got so many social media pages. I remember one day they had a list of all the social media sites. And I made an account with like 15 of them. Most of them don't even exist anymore. But yeah, I mean, even Pinterest. I was on Pinterest early when nobody heard it, when it was no Trist. Like nobody. Yeah, I was posting drum stuff on there. You know what I mean? For me, I'm like keep your options always open. I've always been kind of forward thinking in that I wanna always keep your option, never keep your eggs in one basket. You know what I mean? Um, but I saw guys do that, man. I saw guys during, when hip hop was really popping, drums were getting fired. Dudes were getting fired. You know what I mean? Um, and I'm gonna tell you who saw it before everybody. Narrator. It's a drummer named Narrator. He's a ridiculous drummer. When I say ridiculous, the dude's a legend. He's a legend. If you play drums, you need to listen to him. You need to find the stuff you need to listen to him. But he's also an incredible producer and songwriter. He wrote songs for everybody from Stevie Wonder. He wrote songs for Whitney Houston. Dude, this guy's a drummer, a smoking drummer, a legendary drummer. Most people know him as Narrator, and they know him as the producer Narrator. But I know him as Michael Walden, and then Narrator Michael Walden, and then as a producer he was Narrator. But as Michael Walden and Narrator Michael Walden, yeah, he was that dude. He was that dude on drums, and so. But he saw it early. He was one of the first guys that was like, okay, let me switch to production and songwriting. Um, and I remember following his career because I was a fan of his. And then, so when hip hop popped off and dudes were getting fired, I said I'm gonna pull in the Raider, and I learned how to produce. I learned how to write songs. I learned how to make beats. I learned how to use a drum machine. I learned how to use a sequencer. I learned how to use an MPC. Um, all that stuff. All that stuff. Um, and then after that, they had DAT machines. I learned how to use a DAT machine. And then after that, they had Pro Tools. But it wasn't Pro Tools, it was called Sound Tools. No, I ain't even learned how to do that. I was still with the DAT thing. And then I walked away. I walked away from music. So when I came back to music, they already had Pro Tools, they had Logic, they had Reason, they had all this stuff out. And I started off on Audacity for free. Um, so I bought a used Mac and learned Audacity. And a friend of mine he was an engineer. At this time, I'm in Atlanta. My friend, he was from New York. He came down here. He was an engineer. He hooked me up with Logic. He hooked me up with Waves, all the Waves plugins. This is when they first came out. And then after that, like I kind of figured it out on my own, but he kind of showed me what stuff to get. And then when the Behringer X32 came out, and this is like this is real rap. Put it that way. A voice told me, Make a list of all the stuff that you want as a record. Like, make a list. And I literally made a list of all the mics I want for a home studio. And I said, but I want a mixer. I want a giant mixer. I need big, a big mixer. But I don't know how all this is gonna work. And then Behringer came out with the X32. Nobody had it. No one had the X32. A friend of mine, my man Hugo, and my engineer buddy said, "Yo, I saw this. I ordered the brochure, and I thought of you." He said, "Because I thought of you." Because he knew what I needed. He knew I was building a home studio. He knew this. Um, so he goes, "I saw this, and I thought of you." And it was the X32. Nobody had it. No church, because really it's meant for churches. Nobody had it yet. Nobody had it. So I went to Guitar Center and I ordered it. The only one they had was a display. I had to order it. I ordered it and nobody had it. So I was like the first person with the X32. I was using it as basically a 4-track. No, I was using the laptop as a 4-track. I was able to use the X32. That's my all my inputs. And that's where I got the basics of learning how to mix, learning how to master, in the digital domain. I was doing all like in analog. My stuff was analog. I wasn't used to digital. Analog is opposite. Analog, the louder the music is, the better it sounds, the sweeter it sounds, the crisper it sounds. Digital, if you do that, your stuff gonna sound like trash. So you have a very, very, very you're better off putting stuff lower, making as long as you got a good strong signal and it's not peaking, because it picks up everything. Digital domain, you pick up everything. Um, but it was just that. It was just learning, learning that, learning how to mix in the digital domain. And really, the fact is, I learned how to mix in the digital domain. Number one, because I was used to mixing in analog, but I just went on YouTube, and this was at a time when this was this was at a time when like audio guys were really flooding YouTube with just information about recording in the audio in the digital domain. So that's how I learned. You know what I mean? And then I learned this key thing. Um, I've learned that back in the day, like the gear I have now, people would have fight, killed, died, cheat, steal, and lie to get their hands on it, the stuff that we have access to. You know, um, the recording quality that we have now, like this is a famous complaint amongst older songwriters. They say the music sounds incredible, but the songs are formulaic. The songs are trash. And I've heard that a lot. And they say the music sounds incredible in that the audio quality sounds really good. Audio quality is it's pristine nowadays. But just because it's pristine doesn't mean the songs are better. The songs in a lot of ways are formulaic. They just are. Why? Because formulas work. That's why people come up with formulas, because they work. The problem is you commodify art, for lack of a better term. You're commodifying art at that point. You know what I mean? And art is a commodity. That's the big struggle amongst musicians. Art and commerce. I ain't got no problem. Whatever. I don't have a problem with selling out. I got mouths to feed. So yes, I'm a sellout. Unless you're gonna pay me to not sell out. You know what I mean? Like I think the starving musician thing is a myth to keep you broke. It's a myth. It's a myth to keep musicians broke. I'll even go so far. It's this is some conspiracy theory stuff. But I feel that the music industry romanticizes the starving artist, so you'll be okay being the starving artist. When the fact of the matter is, you get into music because you're an artist and there's a way for you to make money at it. You want to support yourself. You don't want to starve. You want to support yourself. That's what it is, bro. I think it's a conspiracy theory, man. I think, you know, I think they try to keep artists starving. That's why they romanticize it. Like, that's ridiculous, you know. Um, so I think, and really, to be honest, in order to make money, because they say this, the music industry is not making money. The music industry will never stop making money. That'll never happen. That's to get you to be okay with scraps. That's why they tell you the music industry isn't making money. Yeah? Well, how come y'all living in big houses and we as artists are broke? In order to in order to kind of offset that, what they did was they created DSPs, because DSPs, they devalue money. I mean, not money. They devalue music. And this is how it started. Napster, everybody knows about Napster, digital, whatever. Apple was the first people to do it. Apple tapped a bunch of people on the shoulders and said, "Hey, why don't you join us? Join us in iTunes." There are a couple artists that turned it down. She probably would have been a Lettucey. She turned it down. Um, and people are like, "Lettucey, you were a fool for doing that." Blah 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 blah. But she saw what was eventually going to happen. That's why she turned it down. What they did is, at first, iTunes, if you wanted to buy an album, you paid $9.99 for the album. Okay, you get 70%, they get 30%. Um, which, if you're paying $9.99, essentially $10 for 12, 13. Once you get to 15 songs, that's a double album. You're gonna pay a little more. But if you're paying $10, now if I go to the store, I could buy, the last CD I bought was Esperanza Spalding's first album. And it was at Walmart on sale for $10. So that's fair. She had a 13 song CD, and I bought it for $10. It was probably like 11 something with taxes or something like that. So Apple seemed fair. They're paying you roughly $10, and with packaging and all of that stuff, you're lucky if the record label is gonna give you 70%. You're lucky. You're lucky. That's 7 cents on the dollar. That's 7 points. That's 70 points. You get 70 points. That's 70 points on a dollar. You know what I mean? You can't when a record label is they're you're lucky if they're willing to pay you 3 cents on the dollar. Okay? So you keep 70%, and they keep 30%. Now, what happens is, you're used to streaming. You're used to listening to, having your MP3, and you're used to listening to the music that you downloaded and you bought and you made a playlist and what have you. Well, because humans are creatures of habit, what did they do? They came out with Apple Music. And it was Apple Music, it was Napster, it was Spotify, it was all these companies, all these DSPs. And then what Apple did was, because humans are creatures of habit, they were buying stuff on iTunes and putting it in their MP3 player and listening to it, or their phone or whatever. Now you have access to all that music on Apple Music, not iTunes. iTunes, you don't have to worry about memory. I mean, Apple Music, you don't have to worry about memory. You don't have to worry about like anything. You don't have to worry about that running out of memory, all that stuff. You're not downloading PCs. You're logging onto a platform, and they're like you can say you can pick and choose. Okay, all these songs right here, I want them on a playlist. Now, unfortunately, when you're streaming, they pay you 0.00003 cents on a dollar because it's a streaming platform. They're not buying your product. You're paying a service so you can use that song. So it's not permanent. You can't download that stuff. It's not permanent. So what they slowly did is they got rid of iTunes. So now they got people used to listening to stuff on DSPs, and they convinced the artists that, hey man, we're not giving them the music, so we're letting them use it, and we'll pay you 0.00003 cents on a dollar, as opposed to before you was getting 7 points on a dollar. Um, but what happens is when they shut down iTunes, now it just forces everybody to kind of adhere to streaming platforms, the DSPs. You have no option. The only option you have now is Bandcamp. That's why a lot of independents are going to Bandcamp. You know, I've been on some independent stuff. I got stuff on DSPs. I got two albums. I got two albums. I got 5 singles and 2 EPs. All on, on Spotify, on iTunes, on like all DSPs. I got music out. The next music I come out with is gonna be all independent. You know what I mean? It's all independent. You know, cause until the system is fixed, I'm not buying into the system by releasing my stuff just so you can. And I'll say this and this goes back to them talking about the league, or not the league. I'm looking at basketball. They're talking about the industry, the music industry being broke. It's not broke. They're keeping all the money at the top. They're generating money. They're generating money um, with music, you know, because I like all those DSPs. They have to pay Universal and all these record companies to use their music, the music of their artists. So they're getting paid. It's just artists aren't. They're not seeing it. Artists don't see nothing. Yeah, independent. Huh. Independent. Um. So, yeah, man. I suggest, and really, they're giving us the tools to break the music industry. Social media. Why you think I'm on there now? I want y'all to be familiar with me. I'm just being real. I want y'all to know who I am, so that when you see something, you see me, you like, I know that dude. That's Mark plays drums. hmm I'm not gonna And I'm for me, I'm like I'm on some type of look, man. I'm always on some rebel type of upset the apple cart type stuff, man. I want my money, and either you gonna get my money, I'm gonna find a way to get my money. But I'm gonna get my money, like, you know. Especially nowadays, there's so many ways to hustle, man. If you got music, there's so many ways to hustle. Don't rely on a record label. They screwing you, man. Come on, bro. They don't. Let me tell you something. This is what they did. They said, "Well, we can't pay you anymore. We can't. We're not making money. These blasted streaming platforms. We're not making money. So we're gonna pay you less. But you know what? You could go out on the road and you can make a lot of money." The problem with that is Live Nation bought up a whole lot of venues, so they control the infrastructure. That's why you see the concert music scene is it's kind of faltering. But I think musicians are learning from the music industry, and we're not letting we're not letting live music die. You know, um, although there's one company that's in competition with Live Nation. It's based out of here in Atlanta. It's called AG Entertainment. The guy's name is Alex Gitwan. Alex Gitwan His brother just got killed too. It was sad, man. Because Alex Gitwan is a legend in Atlanta. He's as a party promoter, as like Prime 112, the clubs he opened, all of that stuff. It was a natural progression that Alex went into went into concert promotion. It was a natural progression, and he's just a good. Him and his family, his brother was a good. They're both good dudes, man. They're local Atlanta people, But he's competing with Live Nation. The thing with him is artists are going to him, and Live Nation doesn't know it. Artists are signing to AG Entertainment because number one, AG Entertainment pays the artist more. They take less of a cut of your merch. You know what I mean? Because that's how they, oh, okay, we're gonna do this tour for you. We'll promote it, we'll do everything, but in exchange we get a cut of your merch. That's usually how it's done. Um, which means the artist, which means the record label owns your likeness. So in order to recoup, they need to sell your likeness in the form of merch. Okay, so they've taken a chunk of your merch, and in Live Nation or AG Entertainment, they're taking another chunk of your merch. So now you got a little sliver of money that you're gonna make from your merch. AG Entertainment pays a lot more. That's why artists are going to AG Entertainment. Live Nation is trying to box out AG Entertainment, But Live Nation, they were screwing people over. And the person that pushed that was Jay-Z. Jay-Z pushed that. They came to Jay-Z just on the strength of who he is and what he means in the music industry, and they used him to push the whole Live Nation brand. In exchange, he got like some kind of weird Rock Nation. You notice how it was Live Nation and then it turned to Rock Nation, you know. Um, 𝕄𝔸ℝ channel, he needs this. Um, tag him, tag him. But that Jay Z he kind of screwed over a lot of artists. He didn't screw them over. He unintentionally, by selling the concept of Live Nation, he screwed a lot of artists. They paid him a lot. He got a deal out of it, and they that's why I like Rock Nation management. That's why they can be so all encompassing because they've got to deal with Live Nation. You know what I mean? So they manage you, and they can get a good deal. Like you're automatically going straight to Live Nation. Like a Rihanna tour is Live Nation. Kanye used to be under Live Nation. He was under Rock Nation. Um, but he's doing his own thing. But any Rock Nation artist or whatever, or even uh, like subsidiaries of Rock Nation, like Dreamville, it's all Live Nation. That's all part of the Live Nation deal. Now the way you make money is you have to become an artist, and even Drake's it's a Live Nation deal, but you have to be big enough as an artist. The new hustle is festivals. Um, that's why you have Dreamville Fest, you have OVO Fest. That's the new hustle, and I'm really surprised that people aren't really up on it. That's the new hustle. You know, you don't. You get a bunch of artists, up and coming artists. You pay them what they're worth, and the festival is built on your cachet as an artist. If you're a big artist, it's like, okay, well, we know this guy's a legend, so he's having a festival. We expect some up and coming legends, and you end up, the higher you up on the chain, the more money you stand to make. You know what I mean? There's something I heard from a executive producer for movies. He executive produced a lot of movies. He said there are specialists and there are generalists. Specialists specialize in one thing. They're like, okay, they know the ins and outs of camera angles, cameras. They know the ins and outs of cameras and camera angles, wide shots, tight shots, black and white versus color. They know all of that stuff. Then you got guys who know sound. They know how to mix, master, do whatever. They got the right mics. They got the boom mics. They got all that stuff. They got the crew. They got everything. They know, you know, how to deal with bad reverberation. They know all that stuff. Then you got script writers. They specialize in scripts. Then you got directors. They specialize in directing the actors and actresses and blah, 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 blah. What you want to be is a generalist. You want to know everything about the whole situation and hire all the specialists to do what you want them to do. That's what a generalist is. That's what a executive producer is. It's your bill, it's your baby, you foot the bill, you're responsible, whatever people need, you come out your pocket and you do that. But in order to really put it together, your real job is to I need this, I need that, I need this, I need that, I need this, I need that, I need this, I need that. Your job is to get the money to pull it off. You know what you need. The only thing you need to specialize in putting everything together. You know, you're a generalist, but you hire a bunch of specialists to, you know people. You know people, so you know how to get this person, that person, that person. You know what I mean? Like, so, but that's how. In every situation you're in, strive to be. Don't. It's cool to be a specialist, but ultimately you want to grow out of being a special. Like, I specialize in drums. Now I play drums, bass, guitar, piano. I produce. I write songs. I do audio engineering. I can write commercials, like music, like bumper music, theme music. I've got classical songs. Like I've got all that. I because I'm trying to be a generalist. Because eventually, I want to start doing film scores. Then I want to have a movie house where that's all they do is just crank out film scores. You know what I mean? So, I got ideas for movies. You know what I mean? So you may specialize in something, but always look to expand into being a generalist. Because trust me, your views and your vision for whatever art you have, it's gonna grow. You know. But yeah, so um, even with that, man, that's just some career stuff. You know, that's just career stuff. You know, just from personal experience. You know what I mean? That's why I tell people just keep your eyes and ears open. Always be learning. You know, like I mean, it's weird. Some dude was like, "Man, you're like an old dude with like modern thinking." You know, and I mean, most older dudes are like, "Are you calling me old?" No, I don't. There's a value in stuff I've learned, but there's a value in what's coming up now. You're supposed to apply the stuff you learned to the stuff that's going on now. But in order to apply it to the stuff that's going on now, you gotta know it. You gotta be engaged. You gotta engage with it. You gotta be part of it. You have to be like, okay, well, this is what's going on. Like this is, you know, um, because believe it or not, you live a long time, you experience a lot of stuff. That's an advantage. I mean, it is. It's an advantage. You know, the world tells you, whatever, you long in the tooth. It's an advantage. You know, so yeah, man. Yeah, man. Ooh, skyhook. Doink. Oh man, it's after 8. Man, I am so tired, but I can't sleep. Insomnia is real. You know. But yeah, man, it's wild, man. Cause I started out playing rock music, man. And the reason why I started playing it because black dudes wasn't really like black people. It wasn't like when I came up, they weren't really playing instruments. They was doing hip hop. They was breakdancing. Like I came up when hip hop exploded. When I say exploded, crush, groovy, like that time. Man, Joker's just like drums. Can't get that out of here. Where's the turntables? Like, yeah, man. I came up in that era, man. You know. Oh, that was you suck. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, that dude sucked. Um, but yeah. So when I was playing drums, when hip hop was popping off, so was I don't know what it was called, but oh, I know what it was called. Back then, they called it New American Metal. Um, and not only that, but like I would, want no black people to play instruments with. Like my buddies weren't. They was rapping. They was rapping or DJing or breakdancing. My buddies weren't. They weren't doing that. So my other buddies, you know, Dave Bizzagatti, all them dudes, you know, Nicky Spons, all them dudes, Phil Wajda, all them dudes, Carmine, DJ Rolamo, Carmine and his brother Tony Achera. We all just started forming metal bands, man. You know, a lot of dudes, a lot of black dudes I know, like I said, they quit, because it was like drummers. What do I need a drummer for? I was like, well, I'm not gonna quit. I'm just start playing rock and roll. I've been playing it anyway, so I might as well. You know, and I was just playing in rock bands. Um, and I had an advantage because I was pulling from different sources, other than just another rock group. I was pulling from jazz, reggae. I wasn't pulling from hip hop until the '90s. Until the '90s. And the reason why I wasn't pulling from hip hop until the '90s because I wanted to understand it. Like I wanted to understand, like, you need an ear. It's easy to say this post hip hop because a lot of people nowadays have been born in the era of hip hop. I was born when hip hop did not exist. I was around, you know, uh, what did I say? He doesn't. Who's G Terra? I don't know who that is. I don't know who G Terra is. Um, but yeah, I was just like, I looked at, you know, oh, there was just a lot of dudes. So I just was playing rock and roll, man. I played rock. I just pivoted. I played rock. I started playing rock. Like I said, I started playing rock. I was already playing jazz. I started playing rock. Started producing. I learned how to play bass. Now I knew a little guitar, but I had left guitar for a while. I had left the guitar a while ago because I was just, like I was playing like Van Halen riffs and stuff like that. But I had to really focus on drums because, yeah, I'm not a drummer, but I was good enough that people kept asking me, go play drums over here, go play drums over there, go play drums over here, go play. They kept asking me to play, so eventually, you keep doing something, you're gonna get better at it. Um, but like in terms of hip hop, I didn't pull from hip hop because, again, we live in post hip hop. I was born in pre hip hop. I remember before hip hop. There was certain year, like there was this chick I know, this Latino chick. She used to call them black ears. You need black ears. Um, you needed black ears to really understand hip hop. Now it's different. You know, you could say, oh, you needed black ears. Really, you needed hip hop ears. Because white kids understand hip hop. They understand it. You know what I mean? But it was confined to blacks and Latinos back in the day. And that's another thing. They say Latinos, this is, I don't know what's going on. There's this war between Latinos and black folks in terms of hip hop. For some reason, there's this movement to kick Latinos out of hip hop. I was there before hip hop. Latinos were there the entire time. They helped form hip hop. That is the most absurd thing I've ever heard. I don't care what Tariq Nasheed, all them clowns, and I like Tariq Nasheed, and I hate to say that, but that is the like, bro. I'm older than Tariq Nasheed. I seen it. Latinos were right there with the brothers from the inception of hip hop. Them first groups, that like even like Nas's boy, AZ, his name is Anthony Cruz. He black, but he's Puerto Rican. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Like a lot of even before Nas, man, it like a lot of people's Puerto Rican, man. They was Puerto Rican people. They was Latinos, man. They was Puerto Rican and Dominican. They did like I remember Latinos being it was just that's it's like absurd. Unless if you're that's why ain't nobody in New York they not jacking that. They're like, man, you sound ridiculous. You saying Latinos had nothing to do with hip hop? You know that's man. Nah, bro. Nope. Sorry. Nope. Sorry. That's not true. That's a lie. That's a lie from Satan. That's a lie. Latinos are right there. That's a lie. That's a lie. And I'm old. I'm an old dude. I remember. I remember that. So I don't even that's offensive, man. That's like white people trying to whitewash black people out of history. It's the same thing, man. You can't do the same thing that somebody, and I ain't got nothing against white people, but that's what it is. You know what I mean? I ain't got nothing against white people. That's what it is, man. It's like black folks, we get offended when white folks whitewash us out of stuff. So we can't do the same thing to Latinos. Nah, man. I don't go for that, man. I don't go for that. I don't go for the whole Latinos have no place in hip hop. Latinos have just as much ownership of hip hop as black people. Latinos have just as much ownership. Now I'm gonna be honest. It's a black and Latino art form. But even when I came up, it was different. It was like when hip hop first came out, white people embraced it because it was anti-establishment. Like you look at like artists like Blondie with Deborah Harry. She was very instrumental in introducing, hip hop to like the world. Like she literally went and got Fab Five Freddy and African Bambaataa and Basquiat because he was there. She got them and she told them like, hey, she brought them to art galleries. And she brought them to CBGBs, which was a legendary punk club. She brought them to CBGBs and all of that stuff, and they talked about like they matter of fact, Fab Five Freddy was the one. That's why she starts off the line with Fab Five Freddy. He was the one who introduced her to hip hop. He said, "Yo, I know this dude named Flash. He has a group called Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five." So she talks about that. Flash is fast. Flash is cool. He introduced her to Flash, and then Flash was like, "Well, if you think I'm good at scratching, you should see my group." So he introduced her to the group. She saw them. She was like, "These dudes are incredible." So she started taking them to the art galleries where the white people were. And then people are like, yo, we didn't know this was happening. By then, they had met Basquiat and Fab Five Freddy. Basquiat, being the genius he is, exploded. You know what I mean? The guy was a genius. He was the black version of Pablo Picasso. Like um, but and Fab Five Freddy went on to do MTV Raps and all of that stuff. But yeah, so like I don't know. Like I feel like there's a lot of unnecessary. I'm not even gonna say unnecessary. It's just like yeah, it's unnecessary foolishness. You know, whether it's racism, whether it's separatism, whether it's like it's hip hop. First of all, hip hop is the world's now. It's too late. It's an American art form, but it's the world's. You know what I mean? And speaking of the worlds, that whole thing with Kendrick Lamar and a pop out concert, I caught a lot of flack for this, but there's a reason why he dropped it on 4th of July. There's a reason why. There's also a reason why when they did the pop out concert, it was filmed. It was filmed. Tommy the Clown. They were wearing red, blue, and black. With black, uh, with black Air Force Ones. They were wearing red and black. When in the video that was dropped in 4th of July, they were wearing wearing red, white, and red, blue, and black with black Air Force Ones. In the video, it's red, white, and blue. Red, blue, and white. They dropped it on 4th of July. That was a statement, man. Kendrick don't do stuff just because. He makes statements. Like he's very meticulous. That was on some. I know you from Canada, but this is American art form. We're African American. This is American. This is American. You don't. That's the whole point of. They're not like us. Canadians are not like us. They don't understand us. You don't. So stop acting like you the king of rap. You not the king of rap. Y'all will never be the kings of rap. Y'all, I mean, I understand y'all from Canada, and you could imitate our lingo, and you could imitate our swag, and you could jack our style and all of that stuff, but you not like us. That's why he didn't say he not like us. He said they not like us. Go back to Canada with all that. You know what I mean? Plus, Drake screwed a lot of people over, man. He messed with a lot of dudes, women. Man, he was hitting on dudes, women, and like no bro code, no bro code. That's what it is. He got no morals and no bro code. You know, and trust me, like I know a dude I know a dude just like Drake. He had no bro code. Let me tell you something. I was in a band with this dude. I was in a band with these three dudes. We were all hired guns who decided to start a band. The bass player was from Detroit. He came to Jersey and was like, I ain't got no place to play, but I really believe in this band, blah, 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 blah. The percussionist let him chill. Like, yo, you can stay in my house till you get yourself on your feet, and then, you get your own place. Well, it's cool. He moved in. We doing gigs and everything. Next thing we know, he's sleeping with the percussionist's girlfriend. Sleeping with his girlfriend. No bro code. Fast forward, the four of us get a 5-bedroom house. So we're musicians. We live in that life, the musician life, which is girls. It's girls and music, girls and music, girls and music, girls and music. And it was crazy because he was just on some, forget the bro code type stuff. He was the type of dude where you kind of had to, like, he would just step on your toes and just like try something, you know. And he tried it with me, and I noticed because the girls would tell me, "Yo, your boy is Snake." I'll be like, "I know." They'll be like, "Why you?" I'm like, "Cause if you was gonna go with him, you go with him. You wouldn't tell me. You just go with him. And if you go with him, I know I can't trust you. You're not for me. I can't trust you. So it's that simple. I'm not jealous. I don't get jealous. I just get another woman. Like, that was my philosophy. I don't get jealous. I just get another woman. Like, there's no need for jealousy. Find someone else. But that's what kind of dude he was. Now, my man, the three of us are married. Let me tell you something. Well, we're mad. Well, before I even get into that, not only was he sleeping with the percussionist, mind you, this is the dude who let him stay there. He's sleeping with his girl. My homeboy find out because she ended up pregnant. And it's not by him. It's by other dude, Sean. Oop, I gave his name. But yeah, he was the same way. No bro code. no bro code at all.
27
You know,
rebounds, and 4 assists.
I don't like that, man.
29 out of
I
his
don't
35
put
shots, which is a field
petty
goal
stuff
percentage
in
of
between relationships.
19.9%. In terms
You
of
know,
field goal percentage, this
you
is
can't keep it in
the
your
most
pants.
efficient scoring performance in NBA history by a player with
And you going, you know,
36
and he's cool,
points. This remarkable performance
but that shows a
includes
general
additional
lack of
scoring,
respect
as it
for
was not only his
for
last
just
60
people,
point
dudes,
game,
peer,
but
like
it was
his
even
peers.
his last 50 point game that he
It's
didn't
a
play.
lack of respect.
On
You
February
don't respect
2nd,
the people
the
around
same
you.
day, Wilt
You don't
Chamberlain
respect their
suspended the
relationships.
Detroit Pistons
Like this
went
shows a lack of
31 and
respect.
21. He didn't
And
just have a triple double on this night, but
you
he
know, you can get
actually
killed
had
like that.
two triple doubles
Like
worth in the
dudes
same
get
game,
offed
as he put up
for you messing
24
with
points,
their, you know,
12
not only
rebounds,
like I
and
said, he
12
got a girl, he got her
assists with a
pregnant.
69.2% shooting. To
Um,
this day, Wilt
and
is
which is
questioned as one
crazy
of the only two players
because
on the
he asked
NBA
me,
to achieve the
he was like,
2020
Mark, man,
triple double.
what
Wilt
album
averaged
should I listen to?
19.7
I'm
points,
getting
7
into Chuck
assists,
Rainey, who's a
8
bass player.
boards,
I'm
and
getting into
4
Chuck Rainey.
steals
What
in
album should I
the
listen to?
Eastern Division
And we were
Finals.
walking into
From
this
7 to
pub or something
114,
like that, and
Bill
they had
Russell
album
won
covers on the
even more,
wall,
outshining Wilt
and they
Chamberlain
had
in the
Steely
postseason.
Dan's
But this
Asia.
was certainly not the case in 1997,
Um,
as Wilt dropped an
if you
unofficial
know anything
triple-double
about hip hop,
of 24
you
points,
know
12
there's that
rebounds,
song
and 13 assists in
Uptown
a
Baby,
game-winning shot
Uptown
from
Baby,
69
boom
yards
boom
from the
boom,
line. His 12-game
boom
streak
boom
was
boom.
tracked by the
That
respected
song came off of that
NBA
album Asia,
before the
spelled
league made it
AJA.
so snap. If this quadruple double was
That
Wilt's
became
official achievement,
old
then it
boy's
would
favorite
stand
album, and he
today
named
as the
the
only
child
triple double
Asia.
in NBA
So yeah.
playoff history. The
Um,
fact that it came against
but yeah,
Oklahoma
man,
in his home
it's
stadium
just
only
pretty.
makes it more impressive. On
But
February
I'll say this:
24th,
fast forward, we're all married. I'm
Wilt
married,
set
and
the
other two guys. I don't want
Sixers
to
with the Baltimore
disclose their names.
Orioles
We're all
114 to
married,
20.
and he got
On this night,
got
Wilt
two
had one
kids
of the
over
most
there. He got
efficient
another kid
scoring
over there. He's
performances
still
as he
living a
dropped
bachelor
42
life,
points, 30 rebounds,
and
and 10 assists on
there's it's
100%
different
shooting.
because,
Yep, you heard
bro,
me
like
correctly. He didn't miss
we
any
were younger, we were in our
post-game
20s,
attempts, which
but
is the
now,
most
man,
on
we don't have
22
time for that
without
kind
miss.
of.
It's unfortunate
We don't have
Wilt
time for
didn't
that kind
post
of
a number
foolishness.
from
We
this
don't have
game.
time for you.
Otherwise, this
You
stupid stat
know, my
line would
wife.
be absurd.
We got 4 kids. I ain't
October
got time for you
23rd,
hitting on my wife, bro.
1965, Wilt
I
set
don't
the
have time.
Sixers
I don't.
defeated the Detroit
Why should I have
Pistons
to work? Like, bro,
118 to
we
93.
like. I don't.
It was another
And that's
insanely
not to say
efficient
he
game from
would,
Wilt as he unofficially dropped 52
but that's your
points,
character.
21 rebounds,
So you
12
may
steals,
not.
and 15
But the
boards
last time we
on
hung out,
44%
that was your
shooting.
character.
The only
You
unofficial
know,
part of Wilt's stat
and
line
unless
is the
you
triple
outwardly
doubles,
flat
8
out say,
assists,
"Well, I
4
don't do that
rebounds,
stuff
and
no
4 in
more,"
color. With the
I gotta
Pistons,
hold you
one of the
to
greatest
your
two-way
character.
performances of
You
all
know,
time.
unless you show me
However,
otherwise.
it's still pretty
You
darn
know, yeah,
close.
man. I don't. You know what I
On
mean. And it's
February
hard for me
25th,
to because the last time we
1965,
talked,
in the only loss on the
the four
list,
of us. Last time the
Wilt's
four of us
Warriors
talked, this was like
defeated
maybe
the New York
two
Knicks
years ago.
149 to
He goes,
134.
yeah, man.
Wilt's game
We
ended
gotta,
with 67 points, 21 rebounds,
we
and
gotta
12
keep in
assists
touch.
on
You know, the
65%
dude who was doing all that,
shooting.
he was like,
This
man, we
game
gotta
by
keep in
itself
touch.
is incredible,
Ain't
but
nobody say
more
nothing, man.
significant about this
Ain't nobody say nothing.
performance is
You know,
that it
because it's
was the
like,
beginning
dude,
of an incredible streak.
come
Other than
on,
Wilt
bro.
Chamberlain, no player
I'm
in
like,
NBA history
bro, I
has
got,
scored at least 60
I don't know,
points
man.
in
I
back-to-back
don't know.
games. Starting with
So,
this game,
you
Wilt
know,
did this
people, we
in
moved
four
on, man.
straight
We ain't on that
games,
no more.
and the fourth
We not
game
on that,
was 100
you know.
points.
And you doing, you
Wilt
doing the same old.
disappointed everyone
There's a lot
when
of
the
milk.
streak ended
You
in
doing,
where he
you
had
kind of, you
39
still living,
unscored
doing the
points.
same thing. So I just be like, man,
The
whatever, man.
craziest part about this
You know,
list is that there's so many games that didn't make the
you
cut,
know.
and I could easily
This
pull
certain,
part two
this.
and
That's why I
part
always
three
say,
and
man, you
debate
don't
how
really
some
know
people
somebody's
are
character till you
fantastic
grow up.
to say that this man isn't in the
You
top
know,
10.
when you're
Obviously,
young,
there have been many incredible
it's just
performances throughout the NBA's
your
many seasons,
youthfulness. You
but
hang out with a lot of
2020
people, and y'all
is
have
almost
a lot of
without
stuff in
parallel.
common. You're young, and
Or, in comparison,
you just want to have a
the
good time.
performances that were absolutely
But
incredible
eventually,
before
you
that
get older,
is not as remarkable or
and
revered as those other games.
it's just you got to
That's where
grow
this
up.
video comes in, as
And
I
a
walk
lot
you
of the
through
dudes
the
that you used
first
to
season
hang with,
video of
you
the 30
realize,
games that
like,
were
there's
played.
dudes I used to hang with. I'm like,
Let's
these
get
dudes
to
are
the
psycho.
names
This dude's a
of those
psychopath.
greatest games.
How did I
Starting
hang with
with
this
the
guy?
basketball and the interests seem
Like,
to
how did
divide,
I?
I'll definitely consider
Why was I
this
hanging
one
with this
as
guy?
well.
Like, that happens all the time. I'm
Wilt
like, oh
was
snap,
one of the few
this dude's a
players in the
borderline
NBA
friendsmen. We used to hang out. Like, yeah, it's just weird, man. Or you just like you meet dudes who are like, you know, I know dudes that like were just, you know, nicest people in the world, they just become angry and bitter at life. They're just angry. You know what I mean? I know a couple people like that. You know, I know this one dude. I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna say something crazy. I know this dude when I used to play football.
And although this final game is remembered for being the beginning of a dynasty, many have forgotten
There was a girl.
magic
Our high school had a big old weight room.
his farewell game.
You had free
Many
weights
fail to mention this,
and you had the machines, the Nautilus machines.
80s NBA Finals.
Well,
In this
the
championship
dudes used to do the free weights.
Magic was
The
without
girls used to do the Nautilus machines.
James Worthy,
Unless you like you knew to lifting weight, you worked the Nautilus machines until you get used to pushing weight. Then you go over to the free weights. Well, the cheerleaders and the female athletes we used to be, we'd all be in the gym at the same time. The football players and stuff, we'd be over there lifting weights, and the cheerleaders and like the softball chicks, they'll be over there on an artist machines working out. And there was this one chick, um, she had on these shorts. They were so tight, you could see her coochie print. They were like insanely tight, and it was me and this one dude. And this was the creepiest thing. This was one of the creepiest things I'd ever experienced. I'm looking at her like, what the heck? I mean, like, it was practically talking to me. Like, I'm like, what? They were like sucked up there. I'm like, what? So I'm looking at him. He's like, yo, hey, yo. I'm looking at him like, this is crazy. Like, this is broad day. Like, like, I can't be the only one seeing this. This is like, I want to go and be like, girl, pull your shorts down. Like, what are you doing? Like, come on now. He looks over and he walks over to me and he goes, hey man, she looks good, doesn't she? I was like, and I kind of looked over at him and he was like, let's rape her. I never talked to him again. It spooked me. And we were on a football team together. I never said a word to him. Never said a word to him. And he knew why I never spoke to him. He knew it. Never spoke to him again. He would try to speak to me. I can't talk to you, cuz. I can't. I don't want nothing to do with you. I don't want to do around you. I remember seeing that girl later. I remember really paying attention to see if she was all right. Because I was going to tell. That, If I felt like he did something to her, I was going to tell, man. That was some creepy stuff, bro. I'm thinking about it now, man. And that was some of the most creepy stuff I ever experienced. Was like, whoa, I don't know what this dude doing. I don't know what he's doing. You know. Um, but yeah, man, that was some crazy stuff, man. I never forget that. I want to say his name too. I know his name. I want to say his name. You know. But yeah, man. You know, life is crazy, bro. Life is crazy. Again, man. I don't know. You still got the same two people. I don't even know if they could you see? I don't know who. G Terra. Who is G Terra? What's books on the Bible? Right now I'm in Judges 13. Samson. The thing about Samson is a lesson in, look, whether you either with you or in spite of you, God's will and purpose is going to be fulfilled. no matter what.
But Kobe did everything
No
in
matter
Game
what.
6 to try to win
And
this
the
game.
thing about it
It
is,
was the
Samson
biggest
was so
scoring moment
wild,
of his
he
career,
needed
and
some
he
kind of
faced
bridle.
difficult
He
baskets
needed
to get
something
out
to
ahead.
stop him
So he
from
showed something
being
amazing. Kobe
any
finished the game
wilder
with
than he
38
already
points, 9
was.
assists,
You know what I
and 8
mean?
steals on
But
47.1%
yeah,
shooting.
man,
The
Samson.
Lakers
I
succeeded in
identify with
securing home
Samson,
court
man.
rebound in the
You know, because
finals,
I don't live the
and
Samson
that would
life.
have won the series.
I don't live that.
Instead of being
They
overlooked,
I ain't get
this
my eyes
performance
poked
from
out.
Kobe would be
I
remembered
almost got
as
my
one of the
life snuffed
greatest
out
of
a couple
playoff
times,
history.
but
Next on the list,
a couple
we have
shootouts,
Stockton
but
in Game
you
5
know,
of the 1988 Eastern
um,
Conference Semifinals.
some serious
The
stuff.
matchup
But
for the
you know,
defending champion Los Angeles Lakers with a
I
series
ain't get my
tied
eyes
at
plucked out,
1-1
thank God. But I identify with Samson.
in
You
Los
know what I mean?
Angeles.
I identify with him. He was controlled by his feelings and his emotions.
From the point guard position.
You know,
He played all 48 minutes for the
so
Jazz and poured in
and
28
people say,
points,
well,
4 assists, 3
dudes are
rebounds, and
wild.
5 steals
Well, I
on
do generally
50%
believe that.
shooting. His 24
Dudes are
assists are
emotional
tied with Magic
because their
Johnson's
daddy wasn't
most
around.
assists ever accumulated
You
in an
know,
NBA
your
playoff game.
father, the
Despite his
father is the
heroic
one
effort and
that
steals,
that teaches
Kobe's
you to
most
not be
important role
emotional,
was
to
Michael
keep your
Jordan's
composure.
game-winning jumper
You know
with
what I
just
mean?
seconds remaining. With
If you're
Michael on the
raised
court,
by an
everything
emotional
felt
creature, you become an emotional
automatic.
creature.
Seventh on the list is
Um,
Rajon Rondo in Game 2 of the
Thank you,
2012
my brother.
Eastern Conference
You
Finals.
know,
This series is
you know what I mean.
arguably
If
forever
you're,
Ron's evil face, and
you
the
know,
Lakers dominated Game 6 in what was
if you're
arguably
raised, and
one of the most
that's a
competitive games of his
hard
career. The Lakers
lesson.
team
That's
ultimately
something
won the
hard to hear
series
from
in
women.
7 games,
You
despite
know,
losing to
especially
Miami.
like single
Many
moms.
people forget that the
You
best
know,
player
who
in
raising
history
single
was
moms
never
or
one
who are
of the
mothers of
series finals
boys.
big three, but a
I'm gonna
Lakers
raise my son to
championship
be a man. No,
champion,
you ain't,
as
cause you
Rondo
can't,
found himself
cause you're
in a
not a man.
ball game in Game 2 in
It's
Miami,
impossible.
where he dropped 44 points,
You could
10
raise him
rebounds,
with the
and 3
expectations
assists
that
to
a
start
mother
the game with
has for her
75%
son,
true shooting percentage. Around this
but you
time,
can't
he
raise
wasn't
a
the
boy to
player
be a
expected
man.
to put up ridiculous stat lines,
You know what I mean?
hustle and
You
bully,
can't.
make minute plays, or
You
just
can't.
have good
So
heart
what
when
boys
life
naturally
throws
do is
adversity his
because
way.
they were raised by emotional creatures,
Last on today's
they go
list
out in
is
the
the Lakers
world and they
rivalry in
look
Game 6 of the 2007 Western
to the
Conference
streets
Semifinals.
for
He was still
fatherhood,
very young,
for male
but he was poised
validation.
to dominate the
You know,
game
as
in
a
his 20s.
blueprint
And on
of
this night, the
what
Seattle
it is to be a
Supersonics
man.
would experience the
And
true test of
unfortunately, the
manhood.
streets are
Easy
full of bad
elimination if
examples
we must
of
forget one
man
of the best shooting
childs
performances the league has ever seen.
thinking they're men,
As he scored 48
but
points, rocked
dressed
25
like
rebounds, and blocked 6 shots on
some jit
57.6% shooting.
with his pants
44 points
sagging.
there
Like, you know what I
were
mean? Still
sample sizes
listening to hip
of the
hop
best
music
shooting
and
weapons of their
diddy
kind.
bopping.
The
It's
winner
like,
in the game
bro,
would
grow
go
up.
as
You're
far
30.
as
You
128
know what I
points
mean?
in the
But
game. So if you're planning
that's
on
what's
making
in the
a good
streets.
video, learn
You know what I mean?
from
It's kind of like
Kobe
what May
before the
said.
offseason. And
If
learn
you
from
60
Rondo
years old and you trying to
so
be a
you can
street
build in
dude, you
anticipation for the
failed.
upcoming season. So this
You
got me
failed.
wondering, what were the most
If you're
exciting
30
moments
years
from
old
game
trying to be a
one
street
seasons
dude,
that I can remember?
you
Today,
failed.
I put together a short list
Matter of fact,
of
if
the
you're
key
trying to be a
moments that
street dude,
explain why these
you
developments
failed.
were so exciting at the
You
time.
failed society. You
Also, I
failed
want to share
yourself.
what were some of
You
the most exciting
failed the black
offseasons for me.
community.
So without
You
further
failed
ado,
your
let's get
family.
into it.
You
First
failed.
off, the 2009
If you
offseason.
think the
At the
only thing
very
you
end
got
of
looking forward to you
2006,
is
the
being a
NBA
street
had
dude,
finally reached a point where the
you
Western
are a
Conference and the
failure.
Eastern Conference
Like,
were
that's
both
just the
extremely
truth.
competitive
You're a
semifinals.
failure.
The Lakers had just
Like, there's
defeated the
nothing
Portland
good that
Trailblazers
comes
in
from
the
street life.
2009 NBA
There's nothing
Finals.
good that comes
The
from this
Lakers had
whole
lost to
hood. I want to be a
arguably
thug.
the
There's
bottom
nothing,
seed
it's not
and
cool.
conference favorites
It
with the
promotes
Portland
degeneracy,
and they
you
needed
know,
to
and
win
I
all the
love
games
hip
to
hop.
win
I
capital.
am a
Also
hip
seemed as
hop
if they were on the
head.
verge
I love
of
all
winning
music, but
the
hip
NBA
hop is the
Finals.
music of my
They were coming
generation.
off of a
It's the stuff
66
we came up
16
on.
season,
It's the
ending
stuff.
in
It's
defeat
this. I'm a
in the
Generation
first
Xer,
round
man.
before they
I
had
love
lost.
hip hop,
The general feeling
but
and consensus around the league was that
I
this
don't
elite
like.
team
I'm telling you,
simply
man.
couldn't
I'm
compete
like
with the
Mace,
top
man. I
contenders.
never
Starting
respected
in
street
Game
dudes
117
ever. I
of the
never respected
offseason.
street
And
dudes,
guess
man.
what?
And I
Just
used to
last
catch
week's
flack for
series
that, man. They used to call me
proved just that.
cornball. They used to call me
So,
white boy. They used to call me all that. You know what I mean? I
let's talk about
never
the beginning.
respected street dudes,
I
and I
agree.
dabbled in the
First of
streets.
all, you tried to
But I
change.
never
You
respected
used to
street
wear
dudes. I dabbled in it. You know what I mean? I hustled. You know what I mean? It was kind of like a means to an end. I was like, okay, well, I need to get music gear. You know what I mean? But there was a certain distance that I put between me and other associates because I didn't want that stuff rubbing off on me. You are who you associate with. If you start hanging with certain people, you start picking up their morals. You start picking up their values because they're humanized. Now that they're humanized, their point of view is humanized. I like this guy. What he makes, what he's saying kind of makes sense. I get him. He's an idiot. He's an idiot. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know. But like them dudes who want to be tough, they want to be tough guys, and it's corny, man. And it doesn't lead anywhere, man. There's like literally, it's a dead end, man. There's nothing. It's a dead end, man. It's a revolving door, you know. And I feel like hip hop has turned to that, which is why I think, in a lot of ways, Kendrick won because that was like the backlash of the rapper trying to be a thug, trying to promote some goofiness and all of that stuff. That's why when Kendrick was tight, like, yo, I'm raising my kids. You don't know nothing about that. I'm tucking them in at night. You don't know nothing about that. He said, I'm teaching them how to pray and to love their neighbors. You don't know nothing about that. He's right. He's right, man. He's right. Because, like, everything, like, kind of Drake stood for, the wannabe thug, mob ties, all that stuff, it's you feeding poison, bro. I don't care. It's like you feeding poison covered in sugar. You know, yeah, you know what I mean, you feeding poison covered in sugar. It's nice sounding poison. That's what it is. That's all it is. It's some nice sounding ear poison. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying everything got to go back to the whole, oh man, we got to go back to the, you know, miracle, spherical, lyrical, or we got to go back to the black power. No, that's too much. I've been through that. No. All the conscious rap, I've been through that. No. I don't want to hear that. Well, I'm not going to say I don't want to hear that. You need to switch it up. No. Like, I like Kendrick's brand of consciousness because it's I ain't a killer but don't push me type of consciousness. It's that kind of consciousness. It's like, look, I will fight, kill, die, cheat, steal, and lie for black people, but I will clown you and I will make you look stupid. And there will be a morality tale behind it. Like, you know what I mean? So like just normal people. I mean, the society we live in now, it don't have to be about black power and all of that. You know, Kendrick ain't saying nothing that white people can't identify with, or Latinos or Asians, anybody else. He spit universal truths, man. You know what I mean? Spitting the truth. Same thing with J. Cole. J. Cole ain't, you know what I mean? J. Cole ain't saying nothing that white people, Latinos, and Asians can't, you know what I mean, can't understand. It's basic human existence. You know what I mean? Um, so I mean, I don't think everything should go back to the whole consciousness thing. Speak some truth, speak some facts, man, and update it. You know what I mean? You know, put a little sugar in the medicine. You know what I mean? It's better than sugar on some poison. You know. But yeah, man. You know. But I actually think it's gonna change. I think I see things changing. I see things changing in terms of content. You know, I think there's gonna be a rise. Yeah. Yeah, man. You know, I get Samson, bro. I get it. I lived a debaucherous life, man. I lived it. You know what I mean? I lived a life of like extremes. Um, I lived a life where we were extremely comfortable, all the way to me going out on my own and becoming homeless. You know, we were able to travel a lot, so I'd been all over the world. You know, to my mama's job. You know, um, I got introduced to drugs very early on. First tasted heroin at 13. Um, got introduced to crack cocaine at 15. Um, I've been sober for a long time. Um, but a lot of stuff was kind of, I've been through a lot of stuff. Um, so I think just going through so much, I have a long view of things. Um, But all that being said, I think the industry's changing in that people are just leaving DSPs. They are in droves. And I'm gonna tell you something. Spotify, which is the largest DSP, they are tied with the mob out there, wherever they're from, Switzerland, Sweden, wherever Spotify is from. They launder money. Um, I was watching this what do you call it? This documentary about them. And a lot of this stuff is bots. A lot of the music, a lot of the artists really aren't artists. A lot of they found this. There's this guy. He's got like thousands of albums, and he has hundreds of artists that he created on Spotify, and he just sits there and creates different artists. Like he'll make an artist, make a fake artist profile, and then he'll just create this just music he just threw together, and he'll put it out there. He's got hundreds of artists like that. They interviewed the guy. This this is facts. They interviewed the guy, and he was talking about it. Well, basically, essentially, what he was doing, he was creating bot music. So he gets paid by Spotify to create bot music. Because they can't afford to actually pay artists what they really should be getting. First of all, they're laundering money. Number one. Number two, they have to pay Universal and all these other companies that own all the rights to these artists. They have to pay them to rent that stuff onto to put that stuff on their platform, and they're getting taxed out the wazoo by the record companies. Spotify is. So what Spotify does is they create bot accounts with fake music, and you know what I mean. So they don't so it removes the burden of having to actually pay musicians what they're actually worth. Um, because it can't. It's a failed. Spotify is a failed system. Um, and Apple is a failed system. The difference between Apple and Spotify is that I'm not gonna say Apple Music. It's like the concept of the DSP is a failed system. That's what you're seeing. It's a failed system. And when I say DSP, every single DSP, it's a failed system. That's why it's full of bots. It's a failed system. It's gonna crash. We can't complain. You just gotta shut up, keep making music, and let it crash. But what happens is, like I said, Spotify is getting screwed over by these record companies because they can. They're like, hey man, and it's what Spotify does in return. They create bot artists. Bot artists, you don't gotta pay them. Coupled with the fact that they're laundering money, this stuff will come out, and you're gonna be like, that dude on YouTube said that he was rambling, but he was actually telling the truth. Trust me when I tell you. But again, Apple Music, nothing's gonna happen to Apple Music because Apple Music doesn't have to create botted accounts. The reason why Apple Music doesn't have to create botted accounts because they have a hardware infrastructure. They have iPhone, they have the iMac, they have the Mac Mini, they have the Mac Pro, they have you know they've got like all kinds of they have an infrastructure. They have Apple TV. They have you know what I mean? They have hardware and software to sell in addition to a DSP. So the money that they lose on that DSP, they make it on the back end from using all that stuff in the infrastructure that they've created. Spotify don't do that. Ain't no Spotify phones. Ain't no Spotify listening devices. Spotify don't do that. Spotify just they pump out music and they stream music. That's it. They can't make money. And any other DSP, like let me tell you something. Why do you think Jay-Z he dumped title? He made a bunch of money off of it. He saw the crash happening. He dipped out. He dipped out. Yeah, it's DSPs are gonna crash. I'm telling you. You know, whenever you create a system that prevents people from living off the fruits of their labor, the system will never last. It's the same reason why Russia fell. The reason why Russia fell is because the Russian citizens who had gone to college, you know, and were like astrophysicists or doctors or anything, ophthalmologists, optometrists, OBGYNs, whatever. You went to school and you went to school and you went to school and you took a chunk out of your life to become this. Now, the government is telling you you can only make the same amount of money that garbage maker makes. What you think gonna happen? They're gonna buck. They're gonna buck. They're gonna buck. And that's and the way they buck is they create an underground market. That's why I say the Russians have, well, not I, the reputation of the Russian mob is they are the most intelligent gangsters you will ever meet, because they are primarily made up of people who went to school for engineering and accounting, and they're doctors. They're incredibly intelligent. The intelligentsia were the first to go underground. That's the first thing. They're the first ones to go underground because they're not making the intelligentsia. Not only that, they leave because they get, because the intelligentsia generally prompts people to question what the government's doing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, come on now, you really gonna listen to everything to go? Like, it's full of imperfect people. Like, knock it off. So, but like the highly skilled people, like engineers and doctors and physicists and stuff, started working in the black market, you know. And once you do that, you devalue your current currency, all that stuff. All that stuff falls. Whenever you deny people the fruits of their own labor, it ain't gonna last. And what's happening with DSPs now is everybody's abandoning them. That's why you're hearing all this independent, straight direct to consumer, get a website. It's just a start. It's gonna crash. I'm telling you, it's gonna crash, and it'll probably go back to MP3s. You know, it'll probably go back to that. Um, so you know, it just kind of is what it is. Cryptocurrency. I'm choosing a wait and see attitude. Um, it's got to be centralized. That's the problem with cryptocurrency. It's not centralized. Um, it's pretty much it's kind of fiat currency. If you know anything about currency, what fiat currency is? This happened in the 70s. I want to say 74. America went from a gold-based economy to what's called a fiat currency. And what a gold-based economy is, exactly what it is. It's gold-based. It's based on gold. It's based on how many pennies you can get out of a gold bar. How many pennies, quarters, dollars, nickels, $10. Like, that's what it is. Like, it's based on the concept of, if I have 50 cents worth of gold, I can go to the bank and they can give me 50 cents and it will be a fair exchange. Well, they switched from that gold base to fiat currency. And fiat currency is whatever I say is valued is valued. You know? So when people need more money, they simply print more money. But the problem with fiat currency is gold-based currency, inflation can only go but so far because it's based on an inanimate stationary object. Fiat currency can explode because it's not based on anything. It's based on the government saying this has X amount of value. You know what I mean? So there's nothing, it's got nothing to for it to hold any kind of stability. It's just cause I say, that's why I call it. It's cause I say so money. It's literally, does this have value? Why? Because the government says so. Okay. And it really has no value. You know? Um, but yeah, so I think that's the problem with cryptocurrency. It's decentralized. You know, who's dictating the value? You know, who's dictating the worth? It's you know, it's it's I mean, like I'm on some look. If I invest in crypto, I'll invest. If I had the money, I'll put like $30,000 in it. And the moment it went up, I'm pulling out. I'm pulling out like I ain't trying to make a baby. Straight up, I'm pulling out. You know what I mean? Like I'll pull out my money, but that's the trick. That's the trick. Like you don't know. You put $30,000 in and just it'd be worth like 3 cents, or it could be worth 30 million. You don't know. There's no it's not stable. You know, I could put my money in stocks. You know, and over time my stocks will value because as inflation goes up, your stock value will go up. Now it's a lot slower. It's the the yield is not as much, but it's consistent. It's a consistent amount of money, and the thing is, you keep putting a little in, over time, it builds up. You know what I mean? Like it's like a cup of coffee, man. You know what I mean? It's like you could buy 2 cups of coffee every day, and that run up some money, like 365 days. That runs up some money. If you could put enough for a coffee and enough for a cup of coffee, every few days, $1.50, $2. Now you could buy fractions of shares, so it's easy to get into it. Hey, you can do that on a Cash App now. You can do that on Cash App up to $10,000. Cause trust me, I learned that the hard way. Up to $10,000. Um, but unless they changed it, unless they changed it, but before I pulled out everything, it was up to 10. It was up to $10,000. Um, but yeah, I'm very much I don't have the money to lose. I suggest investing in crypto if you have the free money to kind of lose. Like if you got that money. But I don't have it. You know what I mean? I don't got it. I would have to have so much money to invest in crypto. You know, I'd have to, because the way, and also the way I want to invest, I don't want to invest in. Oh, I'm just gonna put $500. No, I want to put like 5 to 10, $15,000. I want to put because that's you bet big, you win big. It is what it is. You bet big, you win big. You know. Um. But yeah, man. Yeah. I never finished that. What do you call it? Thoughts on having 4 wives. I I think you asked the same thing. You said thoughts on having 3 wives. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in it. I'm good with 1 wife. You know. I don't. I'm good. You know. I don't. You know. And again, I done had the 2 girls at once. Again, I was dating a chick. She invited me into her situation, and it was what it was. It was amusing. It was a good time, but emotions get crazy. And if me and the other chick, it's like we wanted to mess around, and the chick that invited me in the situation got crazy, and it's just stupid, man. It's stupid. And that was a stupid point in my life, man. Put your peen on the crap table, you know. Um, but I had my experiences, man, and I'm happy with my wife, man. I don't need another woman. I don't want another woman. What's the point? You know what I mean? Because I'm gonna tell you this: you got another woman, guess what? Everything you done taught your wife, you gotta teach her. And that sounds crazy, and that sounds, oh, that's toxic masculinity. No, it's not. I had to teach my wife some things. I had to teach her some things. not in the
Many
bedroom,
people don't realize
about
this,
life.
but given the fact that the
Like,
West
yo, don't do
is
that.
expected to dominate the East,
Dudes don't like that, or
regardless
men
of
don't do
who the
that.
conference
Like
winners are,
men don't like that.
Scotty was
Like,
basically one of
like
the
I there was
people
certain
that
things where I had to
everyone
be like,
thought
no,
was
honey,
going to win.
I'm telling you, as a
The
man.
leader of his
Well, I
squad,
think I don't care
who
what you think. This is what men think.
for defeating
And like you got to have those
Generalist
conversations. Like you got to help women understand. Okay, men and women think differently, and
this
that's
would be
okay.
his last real shot
You
at an
know.
additional
Um,
championship ring, as his
but
Blazers
it's you know what I mean.
would
But
face
I'm
their
like I don't want to have those
rival this
conversations
season,
with
led to clearly
a new
superior
woman.
Lakers team.
My
The
wife
NBA
knows me.
wasn't
I know
ready
my
to see the
wife.
Lakers in
I
full
know what she
success.
needs. She know what I
At the end
need.
of the day,
We
Scottie
good, man.
is much
We
more
got
than
4 kids. We happy, man. We ain't trying to invite nobody else in
one
what
of
we
the best
got.
career post Jordan,
I'm
which even
selfish.
had
I don't want
more
nobody.
players ever
I
had
don't need
as
another
Hall of
chick.
Famers,
Nah,
as it included
they ain't
drama,
number problems.
remarkable highs, and some terrible, remarkable lows. The NBA
Oh,
has
I
two
don't know.
major conferences, the Western Conference
Uh,
and the Eastern Conference. And for as long as the NBA has been a thing, the
uh,
winners of each conference are the teams who play in the
yeah, I
NBA
would think
Finals,
so.
defending
Staying with the
champions
same person more than 2 years is so
these teams
boring,
in the
man.
league are
Okay,
people
that's
who
cool for
play in the
you.
NBA Finals because decently often two of
You
those
figure
teams
out how to
are
make it
actually
unboring, bro.
within the same conference.
You don't think
Today,
she
I'm
worth it?
looking at four
If you
instances
don't think she
where
worth it, why you with her for
teams
two
who
years?
play in the conference
If
finals
you want other
met
women,
in the NBA
why don't you just
Finals.
get with a woman and say, hey, I don't want no relationship.
First up, the
We just cut
1971
buddies
U.S. Finals.
and just
The
keep it
winner of
pushing.
this conference was the Chicago
Oh, you don't
Bulls.
want her to sleep with other people,
Although the
but you
Bulls
want to
were
sleep with
bullets
other
and
people.
quality star
That's what
players
that
like Wes
is.
Unseld and Earl
Come
McGuire,
on, bro.
they were a pretty
Come
average
on, bro.
team throughout the regular season, both
Come on,
offensively
man.
and defensively.
If
The
you want,
Bulls
man, you
climbed
need,
a regular
man.
season
No,
playoff, a 42
I don't need
game
no other
winning
woman.
streak, setting
Let me tell you
a
something.
formidable
I'm gonna give you this.
expectations during a playoff
I'm gonna
stretch
give you this.
as they won every
Y'all know who
series in 7 games
Adam
to reach
22
the
is
NBA Finals. Meanwhile, in the Western
from No
Conference,
Jumper.
two championship caliber
Adam
teams were
22.
battling it out for a
He
chance
just
to win the championship.
interviewed Pop
It
Smoke's
was the
killer.
Los Angeles Lakers, led by Wilt Chamberlain and
Adam
Scottie Pippen,
22
up
has
against the
Plug
dynamic
Talk.
duo of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and
Plug
Oscar
Talk is a
Robertson.
show where they
Among
interview
others,
porn stars,
headlining the matchup was a battle of two of the greatest
and
centers
the
of all
three of them do the
time,
dirty
as
deed.
both Kareem and Wilt had fantastic
He
showings
was
throughout the
sleeping with all these
series.
women with his
Ultimately,
wife.
Kareem and the Bucks were just too much for the Lakers
Now,
as they closed them out
guess
in
what his
7
wife
games.
wants?
Although that wasn't the longest series,
She
there was
wants,
still little
what's she
doubt that
getting?
both of those teams would have easily
A
handled
black
the
dude
Bullets,
stroking her down.
with
And that's his
everything weighing in
wife.
their heads being in
And
the
they're doing it
finals
on
in the
camera.
first place. As expected, Kareem and the Bucks
You think you
destroyed
could
the
sleep with other
Chicago
women?
Bullets, sweeping
And
the
your
Bulls
wife
in
would be
both
like,
games and winning nearly every
I'm
game
cool with
by a
that.
double-digit margin. Next is the
She gonna feel the
2004
same way.
Finals
She gonna be like,
Finals.
oh,
To be
well,
honest,
what's
at
good for the
number
goose is good for
every
the gander.
series on this list, this one was least
Either she
watched.
gonna do that or she
The
gonna leave you. She's not gonna be
Generalist
your wife no
and
more.
Eastern Conference
She gonna
Finals.
leave you.
The New Jersey Nets
It
were the
just is what it
favorites,
is, man.
but at this
She
point in
gonna leave you.
history, it was
You
widely
know.
recognized that the Western Conference as a
Um.
whole was far superior to the
So
East.
it
This
sounds good when you
almost
talking
ruled out
about,
matchup between the Celtics and Heat
more than one
would
wife.
only be
All that
decided by
sounds
the
good
Angeles Lakers.
until she
At the
start
time,
taking you
these
up
two
on the same
teams had a close
advice. Oh, I'm
rivalry,
gonna have
but
another
in the
man.
regular season, it
You know
was
what I mean? Like
basically a
it's,
foregone
come on,
conclusion
bro.
amongst
Come on,
basketball
bro.
circles that these two teams would meet up
That's
in
some
the
goofy
NBA
stuff.
Finals. The Kings had won
I wish
7
nothing
straight
but
games in
daughters
the
on you,
regular
man.
season, and the Lakers had
For
won
that statement,
68 easy
I wish
games.
you have nothing but daughters.
Meanwhile, the New Jersey Nets
For
won
real.
only 52
I hope
games
you
during
get
the regular
blessed
season,
with
yet they had the
5 daughters.
best record in the entire Eastern Conference by a couple
We'll
of
see how you think
points.
about it then.
That should tell you
You
all
know what I
you need
mean?
to
Like
know about the disparity between the
I
East and
wouldn't
the
want my
West
mama.
in that era.
I
The
want my
league back
dad
in the
cheating on nah.
70s was an
I
absolute
don't want nobody
mess,
cheating on my
but it was
sisters,
also a
and I'm not gonna
series
cheat on my
riddled with
wife. I
controversy.
don't see no
At the
point
end
in
of
it.
the day, the
Why
Lakers
cheat?
won the
I didn't
series
have to get
handily,
married. I could just
but
sleep with
the
whoever.
ultimate
Like
reality
it just
was
doesn't make
came
sense,
next.
you know.
In the finals, the Lakers took their victory
But you know
home
what I
by
mean.
sweeping the
Yeah,
Bucks
man.
in
I
7
don't.
straight games, confirming what
Yeah,
we all
man.
basically knew before the playoffs even
And I'm gonna
started.
say this.
Next up, the
I see a lot of
2007
dudes. They
Eastern
talk that
Finals. This
polygamy
season,
stuff.
the winner of the Eastern
You
Conference
can't even
would
take care of
walk home
yourself,
ahead Orlando
let
Magic.
alone take care
And
of two
although they
women.
were a solid team, their road to the
Jokes be
finals
living
was
in
much messier than
efficiencies.
it should have been, considering how the
You
defending
know what I
champion
mean?
Boston Celtics lost their
Stealing
star
creamer for
Kevin
work because
Garnett
they can't
to a
afford it.
knee injury
Stealing
during
creamer
the
to put, to
playoffs
put in their
opener.
coffee.
If
They
you look at
stealing
the
creamer from
NBA,
work to put in their
every
cereal because they can't afford to buy milk. But they talking about I need more than one wife. Take care of yourself before you take care of a woman.
Finals was a matchup
You
between
know
the
what I mean?
underrated
Like, come
Los
on, man.
Angeles Lakers and the
You
extremely
know.
hot Denver Nuggets. Now, the Magic did have a better
Uh,
record than the Denver Nuggets, as the Magic won 59 games throughout the regular season, while the Nuggets won only 54. But you have to consider that the Magic were playing a majority of their games against a weaker Eastern Conference, while the Nuggets were battling
you know
out
what?
a much tougher
You're right.
West. The other part you have to consider is
There
that
are,
while they
yeah,
were building team
men
chemistry throughout
get
the season,
attracted to other women.
during that season, the Nuggets traded
I
Anthony
am a
Davis to the
man.
Detroit Pistons for the
I
fifth
am not a
offseason for
dog
Chauncey Billups.
where I
Both
see an
offers were
attractive woman and
considerably
I
higher
can't
than
control my
Davis's,
urges
but better
and
fit.
I'm going to have
The
sex
thing
with
is,
them.
Denver had to build a
No
chemistry
offense,
throughout the
bro,
season,
but you sound
but by the time
crazy.
the playoffs had rolled
You sound
around,
out of your
both
mind.
Memphis teams
Yes,
couldn't get
men
it
are
going.
attracted to
Kobe
women. You could be
Bryant
married for
and
50,
Kareem
11,000
Abdul-Jabbar
years to the
stepped
same
into the
woman.
finals.
You're gonna
But
find she is
the
not the
Magic
most
were
beautiful
missing
woman in the
one
world.
factor
She's the
in
most
this
beautiful
series
woman
that
for
could have
me.
won the NBA championship.
She will always
Although
be the
the
most
Magic
beautiful
won
woman
both
for
games,
me.
Kobe and the Lakers won the series in
I could look at
6
another
straight
woman
games and
and
advanced
be
to the
like,
NBA
you
Finals.
cute,
And as
but I can't take
expected,
you.
they made quick work of the vastly
I
inferior
can't take you.
Orlando Magic, comfortably winning
Your
94 to
your
90.
conversation is grating.
Lastly is the
I
2018
don't like your
Eastern Conference
attitude.
Finals. For
I
LeBron James
no,
fans, this
no.
season is a
Like women are
testament
more
to
than just,
James's incredible effort throughout the regular
receptacles
season
to
and
me.
the postseason,
I got to
carrying
talk to
his
you.
Cavs to the
I
NBA
want to talk.
Finals. Most
I
people
want to
think
see
the
what kind
Bucks
of
are just
conversation you
marginally
have.
weaker than the
I want to see
East,
what kind of
but
education you
even
have.
LeBron's
Like I
trade
talk about a
package.
lot of stuff. I'm
Regardless,
interested in a
speaking
lot
of
of
the
stuff. What kind of
Warriors
conversation you
specifically,
got?
one of the
You
reasons
know what I
LeBron
mean? Like I
felt
don't, I
so
don't like,
confident was the fact that this was his
bro.
first
You
season
sound like you
without
like
Kyrie Irving by his side. When you look
15,
at
bro.
Cavs
You
roster
do.
from top to
You
bottom,
sound like you're
anyone who
15,
knows
man.
basketball could see
You
how
know what
they
I
don't
mean?
play at
Like,
the same level
oh
of
well, I
play as
don't.
the
There's
top
no
two
man
teams
that
in the
could.
Western Conference.
Yeah, of
Those
course.
squads were the
But I'm a
juggernaut
human
Minnesota
being, bro. I
Timberwolves
can
and
control myself.
Cincinnati
I can control my
St-Timberwolves
actions.
combined. This
Like,
isn't enough history that you guys probably
like
need to
I
study
don't
the
like.
details.
I don't know,
Instead,
man.
watch
I don't
tape
get
of
that. I
a
don't get that.
seven-game
I
series
don't get it.
that looked like either
I
team
don't
was
get it.
capable of winning.
You
What the
know.
Warriors
I
did
wish you a
differently
bunch
in
of
that
daughters, bro.
series in the decisive
I
seven
wish you many of
was their
them. Five of
rocket-starting
them.
point guard and their second-best player,
I
Jimmy
hope you're
Butler,
blessed
suffered a
with five
significant
daughters.
injury in the
You know
fifth
what I
inning
mean?
with the series tied
And don't
at
get me
2
wrong.
apiece. With Paul out of the
I did
lineup,
my
the
dirt.
Rockets were
You
incapable
know,
of
I
forcing
had when I
upsets,
was
which ultimately
really
led to the
active and
Warriors
just
winning.
touring and stuff.
The
I
Warriors
had
would go
open
on to see
relationships
LeBron James and the
where,
Cleveland
we
Cavaliers
sat
in the
down and
NBA
discussed,
Finals.
look, you see who you want to see, I see who I want to see.
Not only do I believe the
But the
championship
moment you
was
catch
the final
feelings, it's
finish
over because
line,
I'm
but the
exclusive to
Rockets
music.
also won both in
Music is my
regular-season
mistress.
matchups against
Just a
the
chick on the
opponents
side that I'm
by
knocking
huge
down. Let's
margins
keep
in
this clear.
points.
And they were
Whether it
cool
would
with
have
it.
been the Rockets
They
or
was
the
cool with it.
Warriors, I think either
Um,
team would have
but
made
when I
just as
decided to
good
get
of a
married,
run
I
as the
stopped
other
living
team.
like that, man. I
Before
changed
the
my life. I
NBA came
changed
into existence,
everything. I
certain
changed my
players
life,
made
man.
their mark on the
You know,
league with what we
it's
call
nothing to be
superstars.
monogamous.
They may have not
It's nothing.
necessarily been the
You
inventors
know what I
or
mean?
leaders in a
Because I'm gonna
field,
say this:
but in these cases, they were
it's
the
just
people
as
who learned
hard
it as a regular
having a bunch of
element
women.
of their game. The thing is, for various reasons, people often get it wrong when it comes down to
That's not
exclusive
true.
moves.
That's not
They
true.
often acknowledge a more recent
That's not
player,
true.
probably for the simple fact that it's what
Loyalty is not
everyone
rare.
else is familiar with.
If you see it
It's
around
also
you,
about
it's
understanding the
probably
natural
because you're
chemistry
guilty.
between
If
a
you don't
team.
see
That
loyalty,
can be somewhat
or
disrespectful.
this is what I've learned:
For
people who
example,
lack character
we're looking at a handful of players who I
will
believe
blame
are more
others
likely given
and
credit
accuse
than
of
others
others
for
of the
success.
same lack of character they have
First off,
because they don't have it.
stability in the team.
That's what they struggle
I'll
with.
admit it's not
That's like a
always
dope boy
easy,
saying,
but it takes a
that's like a
team to
dope boy
shine for
saying,
the team
oh,
beyond,
everybody's a hustler,
especially in
everybody get
practice.
money.
But with that being
Don't
said,
nobody really
the
care about where the
loyalty
money come
factor
from.
is
That's
real.
not true.
The first
That's
factor
like
is money.
that's like a
Ever
man.
since DeMar
That's like a
DeRozan
woman
played for several teams
who
throughout the
doesn't know
league,
how to
his
choose a
experiences
man.
in Phoenix were
She
completely
always chooses
invaluable.
bums.
He made
She
three
always
All-Stars,
chooses
arguably
lowlifes.
the
She
most
always
valuable
chooses
strategic
deadbeat
player throughout
scumbags.
the league. To this day,
Because
slightly
she
less
doesn't know how to
valuable
choose a
players like
man,
Steph was
she
the first
thinks
player to win a
every
championship
man
from any
is
three-point line. Because even as a younger basketball
is
fan,
a
I remember
no good, a bum, a deadbeat. Why? It's not because all men are bums and lowlifes and deadbeats. It's because she doesn't know how to pick a man. That has nothing to do with men. It has everything to do with her character. all men, like, I'm not even gonna say most men. Like, dude, there are a lot of guys, the dudes I know, they don't cheat on their wives, and I know a lot of them. Too many to count. They don't cheat on their wives. They take care of their kids. They're loyal to their family. They honor their wives. Like, you are hanging with the wrong people. Like, my neighbor over there, my neighbor over here. Two of my best friends are married with kids. They don't cheat. The other, just not even saying, like, my two best friends, my other friends that are very close friends, that's it's too many to count. They're married. I know very few single people. We're all married. All of our kids know each other. We're all faithful. Like, no. And it's kind of like we all have this discussion. Yo, man, it's summertime. You know what it is, man. Chicks gonna be out here wearing all kinds of stuff because we don't want to see that. Why? Because we're protecting our eyes and we're protecting our heart because we don't want to cheat on our spouse. That's why you keep feeding yourself pornography and watching these half skimpy chicks. You're tempting yourself. You're tempting yourself. You're building up an appetite for other women instead of your wife. That's what it is, bro. I'm telling you. I'm telling you, bro. Like, you know what I mean? If you pulling that, well, every guy you blah blah, well, you're rare. You're a rare exception. Blah 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 blah. I'm not a rare exception. You hang with scallywags. I hate to be blunt like that, but that's just the fact. I'm not a rare exception. You hang with the wrong people, bro. That's all it is. Or you believe in social media. And social media is not to be believed. Social media is a farce. They're all broke. You got blind leading the blind. You got these women calling themselves men experts. You're a woman calling yourself an expert on men. That right there just excuses you. You got women out there complaining about men being this and men being that. You don't know how to choose a man. You choose bums. That's why you feel that way. You got dudes talking about modern women this and modern women that. You choose 304s. And you look at the internet and all of this stuff and all this drama, and you go on X and all of this, and you go on TikTok, and all of these manosphere people are, they're making all, it's all BS. It's a select few who have a loud, it's called the loud minority, you know. Yeah, 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 exactly, exactly, yeah, yeah, exactly. No schooling, exactly. Um, but yeah, man, dude, that stuff is dude. Social media it's an illusion, man. It's just as much an illusion as Hollywood. Social media is put your best foot forward. That's why some chick was on this stream. This was like, it was either on the stream. I've been streaming all night, but she was like, "Oh, you're very handsome, but that camera angle doesn't suit you." I'm like, I don't care. I don't care about a camera angle. I don't. This is who I look in. That's how I look in real life. I'm not going. Oh, this is my angle, so I better sit here. I gotta sit just like this. It won't accentuate my big bald head. So I must wear a hat because I don't want people to see that I'm bald. Man, I don't care. You see me? I don't care. Because if we ever met in person, you'd be like, "Wow, he's got a kind of scruffy face. Why you always got a 5 o'clock shadow? Like what? Like, but that's me. I'm the always looking like I got a 5 o'clock shadow from shaving for years. That's who I am. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand it, man. And I even like I'm gonna be honest. Even my wife don't like filters. She's like, I don't need a filter. Why? Like, cause I'll be taking pictures. I'll be like, oh, I gotta clean this up. And I'll do like little stuff. Like she'll have like a little bump right there, or like like a mole or something or imperfection, I'll be like, "Don't take that out." She's like, put that back. I don't want no filter because it's not real. It's fake. You know what I mean? So, and I get it. It's fake. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, man, I think what happens is people just gotta. I'll say this. I think what is. Oh my goodness, he looked ridiculous. Um, I think what happens is people get to a point where they're on social media so much they forget what reality is like. They don't know how to function in reality. Well, that's it's just from that's what it is. Wow. But you know what I mean. That's what it is, man. It's and what do you call it? Globetrotters. Um, it's they're so like you're on social media so long that you think that that is how life it is, like how life is, and life is not like that. Reality, reality is not like that. The manosphere, like even like I look at guys like Fresh and Fit. Those I'm like these dudes are clowns, man. I'm like, my thing is this. It was they had the same formula. Get some drunk chicks from the club. Like Fresh will go to the club with his gold chain on and get some drunk chicks. Hey, you want to be on blah blah blah? Yeah, sure. Some drunk, obnoxious, like half dressed chicks, and they go on there and they would spend an hour and a half to 2 hours bombing on these drunk chicks. It was the same formula, spitting weird rhetoric about relationships and dynamics between men and women. And mind you, they got some of these drunk chicks. There's no, there's nothing that to indicate they are relationship experts, that they have this lock on how to get women. First of all, my thing is this: you are a lame if you're watching a guy teaching you how to talk to women. You are a lame if you need that. You need to go live in a mountain somewhere. You're a lame if you're going online and to some dude who has no experience in relationships telling you how to get in a relationship with a woman. Like, is he married? Does he have kids? Are his kids healthy and well adjusted? Does he respect his wife? Is his wife happy? Exactly. Is his wife happy? Is she honoring you? Is she are you leading your household? That as a man, are you leading your household? And when I say leading your household, I lead my household. Me and me alone. But in my leadership, I am a generalist. We talked about that. There's certain things that my wife knows specifically that I do not know. And she takes the reins and she takes care of it. As a leader, you have to know who and who not to put on what. As a leader, you are a generalist. There are certain things where I'll say, so they'll ask me A, B, and C. I'll be like, I gotta defer. Ask my wife. And whatever she says goes. That's all part of leadership. You know, you know. Um, that's what leadership is. Leadership isn't you do what I tell you when I tell you. Leadership isn't you're gonna sleep with me because I said it right now. That's not leadership. You know what leadership is? If my wife don't feel like it and I want to, be considerate. She don't feel like it. She don't. It's okay. I'm not gonna die. I'm not gonna explode. I can control my urges. It's okay. I'll be fine. You know, but there are times when I don't feel like it, and she wants to. And it's like, all right, gotta get up. I don't feel like it, but gotta get up. It is what it is. You know what I mean? When there's certain things that she's working on, like the biggest part of leadership is learning that you serve everybody you lead. You serve the greater good of everybody you lead. That is your responsibility as the leader of the household. You serve as the greater good of like you serve you protect, provide, and even in providing, we live in a day and age now where a lot of times women make more than men. You know, like for instance, when I first got married, when I first met my wife, she was working in the corporate world. I was working at People Ready. I was po. I was dead broke, and she was working in the corporate world. And there were dudes. I said there were dudes that knew I had my eyes on my wife. They were like, man, and I heard this a couple times. They were like, man, you ain't never gonna get that girl. Man, she got a good job. She do what would she want with you? In my mind, I was like, you don't know me. You might, I don't. You don't know me. Not that I got special powers, but I know how to talk. I know how to talk to people. I ain't gonna spit game to her. I'm just gonna be me. I'm just gonna be who I am. Like it is what it is. Just be who you are. Just talk. Talk. Have a conversation. I don't need money. I've never needed money. It's just a conversation. You know what I mean? Just and a conversation of mutual respect and just have some character. Be engaging. You know what I mean? Like be engaging in your conversation. Show interest in women. Ask them questions. People love talking about themselves. Ask them about themselves. I mean, when I used to go on dates, I used to be like, so tell me about yourself. Just have a bunch of and just let them talk. So tell me about yourself. So what do you like to do? Where do you usually hang out? Yeah. Where you from? Are you from around here? What part of town you from? Oh, where you from? Oh, you from there? Oh, dang, I heard about that place. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? Just and be engaging, man. Like it's like all this blue pill manosphere stuff. I got a cure for that. Conversation. Problem solved. Have a conversation. You want to get a woman? Have a conversation. Talk to them. You know. Hmm? I talk underwater, huh? You know, but it's just oh, why is this not moving? Oh, there it is. Um, but yeah, it's just have a conversation. Just it's simple, man. You know, and I'll say this: if it doesn't feel comfortable, keep doing it until it feels comfortable. Keep doing it until until you're used to it, and be sincere. Have sincere conversations. Be honest, be sincere, be yourself, be engaging, be actually interested in a girl, and be actually interested in a woman instead of just being interested in trying to sleep with her. If she's interested in some is she interested in just getting stroked down and you paying her and all of that? She may be as fine as all get out. She's not the one. Don't fall victim to your urges. She's not the one. Steer clear of her. If she sees you with money and she just hanging around and blah 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 blah, leave her alone. You are a walking ATM. If all she talks about is if you're having a conversation and everything is about her, whenever she talks about stuff, it's about her, even if you don't ask her questions. Um, because because the thing is, you can ask a woman questions. Eventually, she gonna stop talking about herself. She gonna want to know about you. If she doesn't get to that and she can just keep talking about herself for hours, you don't want her. You don't want her. She's selfish. She's self-centered. All of that. You know what I mean? If I mean it's just simple, man. If nah, man, like it's simple. It's really simple. Just talk to women. There's no need for guys like Fresh and Fit and all these guys that and I'm saying this as a guy who is painfully shy, and it was hard for me to talk to people. That's how shy I was. You know what I mean? I was painfully shy and didn't know how to talk to people. But even back then, I knew I had to just talk. So I got over my fear and started talking and became good at it. Really good at talking to women. I didn't realize it, but partly because I was raised in a house full of women. So it was easy for me, you know? So I look at a lot of this red pill stuff and I'm like, dude, just talk, man. It's not that deep. You know what I mean? It's not that deep. And to be honest, man, there's a lot of good girls that I dated that were good. They were good women. Now we broke up and they're married with kids. They were good women, just not for me, and that's okay. You know what I mean? So I could have like there was a bunch of chicks I could have easily married, man. There was a bunch of chicks, black, white, Latino. There's a bunch of chicks I could have easily married. I just didn't want to because I mean, and I could have when I say I could have married them, they were good women and they had family values and stuff like that. They just weren't for me. They just weren't the woman for me. Um, but there are tons of good women out there, man. There are tons of good women out there. And I'll say this for women, the reason why women can't find he's 6'7", wow, he's pretty tall. The reason why a lot of women can't find a good man is because they look for thugs. They want the exciting guy. They want the guy where it's fun being around him, and that's a problem because most of life is boring. Most of life is boring. There's long periods of life where you're literally it's like Groundhog's Day. I don't know, it's an old movie reference, but basically you feel like you're doing the same thing every day. That's on the long term goal. It's not like you're not moving towards something. It's a long term goal. That's life. When you are with somebody, you guys set goals together. You set long term goals. Of course, you're going towards your goal. But while if it's when it's when you're engaged in a long term goal, things can seem very boring. They can seem very monotonous, and it can seem like you're not doing anything that's going towards your goal. But the fact that you're putting time behind whatever you're doing, and what you're doing in and of itself is leading you towards your goal. As tedious it is and as slow moving as it is, that is a boring period in life. If a woman, I say all that to say, if a woman wants a dude who's always exciting, it's because she doesn't understand the concept of the long game. That's not the kind of woman you want. That's not the kind of woman you want. She doesn't understand the long game. She wants it now. She doesn't want to work for the prize. She wants you to walk in and just be like, "Oh, I already did it." This is what she wants. She wants a well-established man, but she doesn't want to help him to get established. When a woman is like that and they look for the exciting guys and the fun guys, that means all the hard work to get that money, they don't want to do that. They don't want to help. They just want your money. They want the residue. They want the left. They want the effects of your hard work. No, you want my hard work? You need to be with me. You need to be with me. You know what I mean? Ooh, Clyde, oof, Rodman. Sheesh, sheesh. But but that's true. But yeah, so like I've never understood this. I've never understood all the red pill, even the blue pill. That's some. I'm gonna say something. Blue pill is some sissy stuff. I don't trust dudes that's in the blue pill. I don't trust that. I don't trust them dudes. They're only blue pill because they're pandering to women. They're basically trying to get in people drawers. And oh yeah, that's the. You know what blue pill is? Blue pill is the guys that when you go out to the you know, I'm sure y'all some of y'all experienced this. Blue pill guys are the guys you go out to bars and clubs, and the way they get girls, they kiss up to them. They just, they're like, oh well, oh you're so, oh yeah, you're right. He was wrong about that. Blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? Like he'll talk to the girl about her ex boyfriend, and he'll down it. Oh, I could do better than that. I'm understanding. Blah, blah. That's what kind of dude. That's what blue pills are. You know, it's like, come on, bro. You know, yeah.
This is a topic I've wanted to tackle for a while because it's something that has people
Oh, Dana White.
whenever it comes up.
Yeah.
And as one
Well.
of the ultimate Kobe Bryant fans who watched basically the entirety of his basketball career, I thought I should give my perspective.
Yeah. I mean,
Now, when it comes
Dana
to
White.
his abilities as a
Let me tell you
player,
something about Dana White,
there's
man.
a tremendous amount to be debated.
I
Some
understand a
Kobe is
lot
one of the greatest
of Dana
players
White's
in NBA
mentality,
history.
in
His
terms of how he
perspective
runs the
on the
UFC
ability
and
to
where
make
he came
plays.
from.
He has the second
Dana
greatest
White's from
scoring
Boston.
performance of all time, which is when he dropped 81
Dana
points
White
on the
used to have a
Mavericks.
gym.
And he
He had
has
a
the longest
boxing
streak
gym
of 40-point games and 50
um
point games in all
in
not being
Boston.
Wilt Chamberlain. If you ask me
And
personally, I
he
don't
was
think he's
cranking
the
out a
most
lot of
impressive
fighters.
scorer in NBA history,
And
but I
the
do believe
mob
he
wanted
is
a
the
piece of
most
it.
impressive
And
scorer
they
of
were
all time.
beating
As well, he
the
consistently
brakes
made
off of
the
Dana
insanely
White.
difficult shots
He
that
left
he
Boston
made
because of
on a
that.
regular
They
basis.
chased him out of
To
Boston.
me, this
Oh,
aspect of
he went to
Kobe's
Los Angeles,
legacy
not
is
Los
great,
Angeles. He went to
and
Vegas.
most people tend
Yeah.
to agree that he's one of the
The mob
greatest
was
scorers of
pressuring
all
him
time.
big
But
time.
there's the
They
other
wanted
side
him
of the
to,
court, and this is where
yo,
things get
man. They wanted to
controversial.
start. They wanted him to
For a
start
while,
fixing
there
fights and
was
stuff
this
like
trend
that.
towards
Yeah,
making
man.
defensive plays
I
more
want to say they broke
obvious.
his arm a couple
But
times.
like
Yeah,
Mr.
man.
P, he
Dana
saw
White
this
used to be
as a
going through it, man.
reflection
Oh,
of being a great defensive player. And in numerous instances, Kobe displayed what he was capable of on that end of the court.
you know.
To me, the greatest example of Kobe's tenacity and defensive excellence was when he led the Redeem team in the 2008 Summer Olympics. Kobe understood full well that with that stacked roster of offensive superstars, he wouldn't need to be as aggressive offensively,
So,
and instead decided to focus his energy on the defensive
but
end
yeah,
of the
man.
court. That
I
summer,
think as
he
far as
accepted
being
the
married,
assignment of shutting down the best
I
players
love it,
on the
man.
opposing teams. And Kobe's Olympic
It's the best
teammates
thing I ever did,
spoke
man.
at length about how his mindset and leadership motivated the team defensively, which helped them
Yeah,
secure the gold.
it's
At
like
least in that
it's
time
like the
frame,
it's
Kobe was
cold, Kobe cold.
absolutely elite defensively, as he
You know,
demonstrated his knockdown abilities when he set his mind to it. But that
I
begs the
think the
question,
best
did
thing.
Kobe always set his mind on being a lockdown defensive player?
I think
Here's something to consider.
I
In
think
the
that we
history
call
of
it
the NBA, Kobe is tied for the most first team all defensive selections
just
with
having a son,
25.
man. Having two
The
sons.
players he is tied with are Michael Jordan,
It's pretty
Kevin
wild,
Garnett,
man.
and Gary Payton. So based on that,
It
some
takes a
may
while
say
getting
he's on the
it
same
takes a while
level
getting
as
used
those
to
other defensive players. Well, the thing
seeing
is,
another
of the
version of
players
me,
in that group,
let
Kobe was the
alone
only
two
player who
versions of
never
me.
won the Defensive Player of the Year
Um,
award. Jordan won the
you
award
know,
in 1988,
and
Gary
this is what
Payton won it
happens.
in 1996, and Kevin Garnett won it in 2008.
If you
In
have
fact,
issues with who you are
Kobe
as a
finished
person,
higher, the third
it'll
overall
show
in
up
the
in your kids.
DPOY race. And
And the way I
unlike a
say
single
the
season
way
in the
I say
past,
that is
he
this:
never finished higher than fourth.
if
Now, some bring up the point that the
for
all
instance,
defensive selections in the
my
DPOY
youngest daughter,
award is all based on voting by the media.
I would see
Someone
her
says
walk
there's no objective data
and
to
she had her
ever
little
be
pigeon toe
considered
feet.
as better or
And I'd be like, oh,
worse
I love my
based on
daughter.
their
I see her walk.
awards
I'd be like, dang,
because
man,
they
she
are
got my
all
walk.
down to their
Dang, man.
opinions. While there
And my
is
wife would be like,
substance
I
behind
love her
voting,
little pigeon
in
toe
the
walk.
answer,
I was like, I
aspects
don't
are
like it.
less about opinions and more about the
And
bottom
what
line.
happened is, I
For
realized the
example,
reason why
here's
I
some
don't like her little
statistics.
pigeon toe walk,
Given that Jordan and
because I don't
Payton
like
hold
me.
the same amount of first team all
This,
defensive
you know what I mean? Like,
selections,
I love my
Kobe
daughter, but
actually
that's the
leads
one
all
thing I don't
defensive
like about her.
selections
It's because I don't
overall.
like me.
Let's focus a
And I knew that had changed when she got older, and I started internally smiling when I saw that when my kids would do something that reminded me of me. I'm like, okay, okay, that's me. That's when I realized, like, oh, I don't hate myself anymore. I love myself. You know what I mean? But yeah, if you hate yourself, it'll show up in your. It'll show up. It'll show up in your kids, because your kids are gonna show up. They're gonna have a piece of you. They got a piece of you. If there's something in that, and there's something in them that's a piece of you, how you react to it will show you whether you love yourself or not. If you cringe, you probably don't like yourself. You know, so in some way, shape, or form, you probably don't like yourself. That's the one insight. That's a huge insight that I learned from just being a parent. You know, um, and one thing I haven't learned it. It's just my approach. Is I guide my children as though I'm intending their intent is to be on their own, doing their own laundry, paying their own rent, paying their car note, like responsible. I'm raising them to leave the house and become responsible adults. But they know there's no rush. They can stay as long as they want. You know, like my daughter, she's like, she wants to stay home. She go to college and stay home. You know, um, and she's like, look, she shares her room with her sister. She's like, if we had another house and I had my own room, I'd definitely stay. But she wants to stay home. She's gonna be on campus, but she wants to stay home. You know what I mean? And I've always kind of now she's ready to be on her own, but I don't care, man. If y'all want to stay home, man. Long as you're doing something. Long as you're doing something. But stay home, man. Stay home. Don't pay no rent. You know what I mean? If you got a car, you gonna buy a car, buy yourself a car. Stay home, pay that car off. Stack your money so that when you leave, you got some money. Stay home, man. You know what I mean? Stay home. Do you? Just stack your money. That's how I was raised. That's how, my family, that's kind of like what my family does. That's what we do. Like you stay home, Like I thank you, my brother. Um for me, man, when I wanted to get married to my wife, I moved back home. I moved back home, my mom. And at the time I was working for this maintenance company and it no longer exists. It was swallowed up in the mortgage crash of 2008. That was one of the best companies I've worked for. I was getting bonuses every quarterly, which is every 3 months. Um, I was getting like $2,000 to $3,000 bonuses. You know, like we paid for our marriage cash, bro, straight up. We paid for it in cash. And we had 10 bridesmaids, 10 groomsmen, flower girl, all that. Yeah, 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 yeah. We had 10 bridesmaids, 10 groomsmen. We had a huge wedding. It was like on some wedding of the century type stuff. Our wedding was huge, bro. Like it was filthy, rotten, stanking huge. It was our wedding was huge, bro. You know what I mean? Um, because I'm gonna say this because my wife, she was very popular. She still is. She's very popular. My wife, she's in like the Atlanta scene in like Atlanta, the scene that we were in. She was very popular. She was a well sought after woman. My wife was the woman that dudes would be intimidated by. That's who my wife was. And she didn't go on dates because dudes were intimidated. And I know dudes were intimidated because when I had my eye on her, dudes were like, "You will never get her. You work at People Ready. She works for an Australian firm. Like, no, you're not. No, you're not. You know what I mean?" And some people were like, "Oh, you aim high." Like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, I see you, bro. You aim high. In the back of my mind, I'm like, "Oh, so you think? Oh, you doubting me too? Well, you like?" Because it was like also, oh, he thought, oh, I was like, "Oh, so you doubt me too? Okay, okay. Well, that's what you think. Okay." And it was just, I just knew. I knew I wanted her. You know, I knew she was gonna be my wife, and I didn't care what I didn't care what anybody thought. I'm going to marry her, and she was cool with it because she wanted to marry me. So you know, and I'm gonna be honest, it wasn't my balling out of control. It wasn't my good looks, if I had any. You know, it wasn't my. It wasn't even my engaging conversation. The reason why she got married to me is because she said he's broke, but he's a good man and he has character. I'm down with that. He's a good dude. He broke now, but dudes like that don't stay broke for long. I know he loves me. I know he loves God. He's a loyal dude. He's just, I could tell by his conversation. He's a loyal. I never say, "Well, I'm loyal." I'm just I'm just a loyal dude. I'm loyal to a fault, man. I'll stick with brands that are trash, but I'm just loyal because you know what I mean. But she knows I'm a loyal dude. I take care of her, like you know what I mean. And you know, she went straight from college into doing her thing in the corporate world and what have you. So, like, I ended up teaching her how to drive. Um, I bought her first diamonds. I bought her like all her jewelry, all that stuff was first. Um, all that stuff. You know what I mean? Like I proposed to her up in New York. We were in Atlanta, but I proposed to her in New York. I flew her to New York and proposed to her on in a rowboat in Central Park, right outside. I went to we went to Tavern on the Green. Say, "You ever been in a rowboat?" She was like, "No." I said, "Come on." And I had my homeboy and my homegirl in the bushes with a camera, and they filmed us. And we rode out because it's got like a little man, like this Tavern on the Green here, and it's like they you could rent gondolas and you could rent a rowboat. I rented a row. At first, I was like a gondola, but I was like, I don't want, dude. If it's a gondola, I'm gonna run my own gondola, and they're not gonna let me run my own gondola. So I got the rowboat. I rode out there, rode out there, rode out there, rode out there. Said, "Hey," so I basically I proposed to her out there, you know. Um, but yeah, man. So a lot of firsts. But yeah, man, she a good woman, bro. Her friends too, they good women. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm like, man. I know tons of women like that still. I know a lot of girls like that still. You know, it's just you gotta stop looking at them social media chicks. They fake. They faking in that foundation they got on their face. They faking in that BBL. You know what I mean? They faking in them fake boobs. They fake. They faking in the Botox they spray getting pumped in their face. They fake. They faking in their hair color. They faking in them eyelashes. They fake. They faking in that makeup face that they be wearing. It's fake. They fake, man. Go for regular, down to earth women. Just regular women that are just, go to a library or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Don't go to the club or the bars or on social media or Bumble or, whatever. So, that's all I think it is. Thank you, man. You said I'm a cool dude. Thank you, my brother.
as Bird was on an absolute
You
mission,
know.
and
But
over the
yeah,
course of the
man.
series, he
I
dropped
think things
games
will
monstrous
change.
averages, leading the Celtics in
I think
defensive
it'll
rating,
get to,
points, rebounds, assists,
I don't know.
and steals on remarkable efficiency. The
Hey, yo,
Celtics were
I
one
don't
of
know,
only
man.
the
I was
Bucks
thinking
to
about that
refuse,
whole
and
Biden,
obviously this
the
prevented
Twin
much
Towers
growth
view,
in his
the
first
moon
trip to the
landing.
NBA Finals.
I don't
10
know,
years
man.
later, the teams met up
I think we
again in
landed
the
on the moon.
1986 Eastern Conference Finals.
If it was
Bird
fake,
had
we live in an
surprised
information age.
patience as he nearly averaged a
It would have
triple
been it would
double
have been
on
discovered.
absolutely goofy
It would have
efficiency
been like
splits.
opened up.
Milwaukee never stood a
Um,
chance as Larry and the Celtics swept them in 4
and Twin
games
Towers.
with an average margin of victory of
Let me tell you
14
something about the Twin
points.
Towers.
This was now the second straight season
At the
where they were
time,
concrete from
I was
reaching the NBA
working
Finals. The
for
following year,
Colonial
the two teams
Pipeline.
met in the playoffs for the
Colonial
first time
Pipeline
in just 2
supplies all the
seasons, and
oil
it was in the
for the
1987
entire
Eastern
eastern
Conference
seaboard.
semifinals. With the
It
recent
starts
acquisitions of Jack
in
Sikma and
Texas.
John Lucas, Milwaukee was
Stretches,
poised
stretches,
to put up
stretches,
a fighting
stretches
fight early this
over.
season, and they
Can't
did
remember the
just
states it
that,
goes through,
facing
but it goes through
elimination in Game
Georgia, goes
6,
up the
sending
coastline,
Lucky for
all the way up
his
to Linden, New
comeback
Jersey.
performance as he dropped 34 points,
The
6
headquarters
rebounds, 4 assists, and
used to
3
be in
steals
Alpharetta.
on
Is that
55%
considered
shooting,
Alpharetta or Roswell? I think that's
which took the
Roswell.
Celtics to a 7th
It's
game in
Roswell.
Boston.
Yeah, it's Roswell.
But at the end of the day,
It went from
Milwaukee
Roswell
was
all the
pulling
way to
ahead down the
Texas.
stretch as
I
they
can't
put
remember
up
where in
30
Texas.
and
Um,
8 in a decisive game, and the Celtics took home
now,
the win
in
with a
times of
final
war,
score of
fuel
119
fuel
to 99.
supplies and what have
Yet
you, that's
again, Bird
considered
had a
a
dominant
target
series with
because in
11
order to
assists
weaken
across the board.
a foreign
Milwaukee
army, the
again
first thing
found
you
the
do is you
offense
go
to be
after
the
the fuel
target of
supply.
one of the most
That supplies the
underrated
tanks, it
players in
supplies the
basketball.
planes, it supplies all the troop
Because of
transporters,
Bird,
and it
he
supplies,
qualified several trips
the
to the
ships.
NBA Finals,
Of course,
and
nuclear
even
subs
one
are nuclear,
an
but
NBA
it supplies ships.
championship, which would have certainly
So what
made him
happens
a
is,
legendary figure in the
um,
city of Milwaukee. To this
they
day,
shut everything
many
down. At
basketball
first, what
fans
happened? They used to call me
credit
New York.
Bird sending
They're
Mamba
like, "Hey, New
and
York." There's a guy named
Milwaukee
Clint. "Hey, New
winning the
York, come
case
here,
for
man. Come
Bird's
here, man.
legacy.
One of your guys are gonna get I don't know. One of you
Next up,
guys your guys are in
Bird
trouble.
followed
You
the
talking
legacy
about
of DeMar DeRozan,
one of your New York
despite his
guys?"
recent
I'm like,
history.
"What do you mean?" He's like,
Since
"Man, one of your
graduating
guys
from
just
a Major League
ran a plane
school,
into the Twin
Bird
Towers."
played
I was like,
just
"No
played with
way."
Toronto for
First thing I
about
thought, somebody
4
getting
years.
fired.
For a
Somebody's
while,
getting
he
fired.
was punishing the Raptors
And
with
he thought the
defense,
same thing. It's like, "Oh
but
man,
he
somebody about
saw
to lose their
nothing but
job."
reality
I was
from
like, "Yeah,
DeMar
man.
DeRozan. For a
We're
while,
watching it on
everyone was
TV."
eyeing DeRozan as the
Eventually, we saw the
fourth-most
other
valuable
plane
factor in franchise
go
history.
into the other
And
tower,
it
and we're like,
was since DeRozan was traded in the
"Oh,
summer of
this is
2018,
something
Kyle
different."
Lowry and Kawhi Leonard
And
were
then we
much
heard
needed
about
in the
the
organization.
Pentagon and all
This
of that
was the
stuff.
franchise's first
And
playoff
then
title ever.
we went
DeMar could
into
have been the first
some kind of
superstar for
DEFCON.
Toronto to
I
make
know
it to the
America went into some
finals
kind of
and
DEFCON,
potentially win a
and
championship.
part of that
But of
DEFCON
course, LeBron got in the
was
way.
shutting down
As
all
the
the fuel,
finale
like protecting all the fuel
started in the
lines.
2016 Eastern
And
Conference
since
Finals,
Colonial
with
Pipeline
the
was part of that fuel
Celtics
line,
taking on the
they
second
shut it
seeded Raptors.
down.
DeRozan had a
They
solid
used to
start to
have
the
what's they
season,
had. It was
but
10
it
floors.
only mattered as LeBron officially
All this
ended the
was,
series.
well,
They
the
met
third
for
and
the second
fourth
time of the
floor was
year in the
maintenance.
2017 Eastern Conference
From the
semifinals.
fifth all the way to the top,
Somehow,
that
James
was
Ennis
offices.
staggered
That was
much of
just,
this season,
it's the
but kept the
offices and
pace when he
all
swept
the
the Raptors
paperwork and the
with an
bureaucracy and
average
all that stuff.
margin of victory of 14
Now,
points.
from
A
the
recent
first
comparison, the
floors
Kings' utter dominance was put up
was
averages
it
of
was banks
36
of
points,
computers,
8 rebounds, and 5 assists
and
on
people would
46
literally
possessions.
sit there and they
Much
were the
of that
ones
was due to
monitoring
James
where
Ennis. But
all the oil
honestly,
went. This,
James did
this
a
amount
pretty
of
good
oil
job
goes here,
before
this
last
amount, and
season.
they do it all from
He
a
saw
computer.
his Cavs swept the
Um,
Raptors at the
well,
2018
where all the
semifinals.
computers were, it was
Now,
wide open. It was all
Bird
glass.
and
Like the
LeBron
bottom was all
did have
glass,
an eye
and it
on
was
him
cool because it
as
was
the
kind of
years
like
went
one way
on.
glass where they
And
could see
he
out, but other
developed
people couldn't see in.
over the course of the
Well,
series. Without
they got
LeBron's
rid of the
help,
glass
DeRozan would go deep
and
and
they
force
replaced
the
the
Celtics
glass
to take the
with
Raptors
two and a
to the
half
NBA
inch thick
Finals.
sheets of
And
Teflon,
DeRozan had done that in the
just
Raptors'
in
game
case if
in
somebody
the
tries to
finals against San
invade,
Antonio for
you
Kawhi
know,
Leonard in the first
and
place.
like because we didn't know, you got to think
Was the
about this. We
championship.
didn't know.
And
We
the real
realized, okay, these
champions
guys
lost
somehow
the
infiltrated
detrimental effect
the
was
airlines
just
and
beginning,
they
CJ.
hijacked the plane and they took out the Twin Towers. We're thinking we're at war and we're preparing for somebody coming over here and trying to invade. So we had, yeah, Teflon put on the walls. Teflon. It was wild. Um, yeah. My sister, she worked for FedEx, and that day she couldn't go to work for whatever reason. She couldn't go to work. She would deliver to the Twin Towers regularly. They were on her route. My other cousin, she was a buyer for Saks Fifth Avenue. So she worked in the Twin Towers. My cousin Robin Hall. For some reason, she said, don't come to work. Don't worry about it. Blah, 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 blah. We got something on. Got something going on. Take the day off. That was the day 9/11 happened. That was the day 9/11 happened. And they both, my sister delivered to the Twin Towers, and my cousin worked in the Twin Towers. And they both didn't go to work that day. So it's pretty wild, man. I was just like on some wow. You know what I mean? And I'll say this. There was a girl. My wife used to work for Emory Hospital. She worked in, not biostatistician. She worked in like the stats area. I can't remember. But when the Twin Towers happened, my wife used to work with a girl from Yemen. She was clearly Middle Eastern, but she was thoroughly and completely Americanized. She spoke English with no accent. You'd think she was Latino before you thought she was, Middle Eastern. Except for like if you knew her name or something. But if you saw her, you think, oh, she's some Latino chick. She's thoroughly American. Like she's clearly American. She was Yemeni. And as soon as the planes hit, her and my wife they were standing next to each other talking, and they at the time they were quiet. They were watching the TV and watching the news, and then the first thing my wife's friend said was, "It was Bin Laden." She knew it. When all that stuff happened, she was like, "It was Bin Laden. I know it was Bin Laden." Yeah. So, and I'll say this: there's a movie and it shows the FBI's most wanted. Bin Laden was on that list. There's a movie. You can Google it. There's a movie that has Bin Laden's picture on, America's most wanted, FBI's most wanted. Yeah. And there was a guy, people knew it. There was a guy who tried to warn everybody about 9/11. He was so far to quit his job with the Secret Service to work security for the Twin Towers. He eventually died in the aftermath of the Twin Towers, but he got that job because he knew the Twin Towers were a target. He knew Bin Laden was targeting the Twin Towers. Mind you, that wasn't the first time it was targeted. I came up in an era where the first time they tried to do it, it was a different group of dudes, but it's basically the same thing. This was in the 90s when they set off a man bomb in the basement of the Twin Towers, in the parking deck. It did nothing. It ain't do nothing. So even so far as Notorious B.I.G. got a line, blow up like the World Trade, the opposite from a winner. I remember when we used to eat sardines for dinner. Yeah, as I said, blow up like the World Trade. The World Trade Center they tried to blow it up before. That's why, like, people knew, like, it was known that the Twin Towers were a target. It was known. It was well known. They tried it before, so. But yeah, so, I don't know, man. I'm not surprised that, the Twin Towers, people knew about it, man. I mean, as far as conspiracy, I don't know. I'm not much for conspiracy, you know. But I will say this.
This was merely a glimpse
Um,
season as his Bucks won the game 119 to 110. Next, we'll take a look at another fundamentally sound pick.
Everything is a conspiracy theory
On October 31st, 1997,
until it actually happens.
coming out of
The first term used for conspiracy theory, it ended up being a fact. It was about an assassination. You know, I can't remember what it was about. It was about an assassination. And then that was considered the first conspiracy theory. It ended up being a fact. So the very first, y'all can Google that. The very first conspiracy theory turned out to not be a theory. It was a fact. The term was coined in the 60s. So I'm not for making everyone who has a conspiracy theory out to be crazy. You know, they got that information from somewhere. But I'm not quick to believe every single conspiracy theory. Because some of them tinfoil hat dudes be losing their mind. Like, I'll be like, come on, man. Y'all act crazy. So I don't, I'm from the school of it's never as bad as you think it is. It's never as good as you think it is. The truth lies somewhere in the middle. You know what I mean? I think just we have to avoid extremes. You know what I mean? It's just not smart to be extreme about anything. Too much of anything is not a good thing. Too much of the right is not a good thing. Too much of the left is not a good thing. The best, it's somewhere in the middle. Like everything happens to varying degrees. Like if something's bad, how bad is it? You know, how bad is it really? Usually when you analyze it, you realize, well, it's really not as bad as I thought it was. Or it's pretty bad, but somebody else got it worse. So, you know what I mean? So, or, wow, I thought he was a bad boss. He's actually not a bad boss. I think he's bad at some things, but he's generally a good boss. He's not that good, but you know what I mean? It's always in the middle. You know what I mean? It's never one way or the other. I think people think either or. I think people think binary because it's easy, because they're lazy, because it's easy. Oh, it's always like that. No, it's not always like that. It's not. Oh, they never do this. No, don't say that. Nothing is ever that either all or nothing. Nothing is like that. That's the only extreme. The only extreme is there's no such thing as like extremes is just not worth. They're not well, there are such thing as extremes, but they're never worth it. They always end up bad. When you take an extreme stance on something, you discount everything else. You even discount the possibility that you might be wrong. And that's dangerous. You know? That's dangerous. Oh, that's my neighbor. My neighbor. Well, I tell you what, y'all. Um, I've been up since 12:30. Yeah. I take it down.